John has an anecdote for this episode.
I got pulled into doing basically my partner works at like a graphic design place, and I got pulled into doing basically like photos for like a leaflet for a museum kind of thing. And it was basically, I thought I'd just have to stand there in front of a bunch of extras, but it turns out that there were so few extras that they just kind of ended up getting a lot of individual shots. And it was really funny because like it was the art director and the photographer and pretty much just me there. And they were like taking photos of me, and every now and then I just hear like, looks real shit, doesn't it?
like you or the photograph?
What were the photos of? What were you doing? Like, what was this
I had
for?
to like look at a sign and like I had to like stand with my back, like just the most like Trinity College brochure shit you can imagine.
Oh yeah.
Would they not hire someone?
No, I guess not.
Free model right here.
Yeah. And it was the kind of thing as well where like I wasn't getting paid for it, and it was meant to take 3 hours, and it ends up taking 7 hours. And but I couldn't be annoyed because I didn't want to get Michelle in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be on your best behavior, John.
I had to be in my best behavior.
Did you wear your cutoffs?
No. I didn't think that would have gone down well.
Did you have the swear word shaved into the back of your head for, any over-the-shoulder shots?
I did, but they told me they're going to Photoshop it out. Or Photoshop something more politically acceptable.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, I agree with that decision.
Wrong party, John.
Yeah.
I don't think you should be. Yeah.
Yes, that was my day. And now I'm here on the Let's Fight a Boss video game podcast. The world's strongest video game podcast. To my left, I'm just going to say it, the most photogenic man on the fucking planet. It's Bryan, the flashbulb.
The lens is always there, my friend.
To my right, the only person more photogenic than Bryan.
Jesus Christ.
It's the Polaroid. It's Niamh.
Hello.
And with you always, it's me, your host, the Nameless King, John.
Oh, yeah, still doing the Nameless, are we?
Oh yeah, totally. The greatest achievement of my life. Heist of the century, I've heard people call it.
I went into the rat's nest that was the Nameless crowd, and I poked it a little bit.
Still trying to find a way to revoke your access to there.
Yeah. Good luck.
Oh God, where do we start?
I don't know. Everything I watched and consumed, I have a lot of emotion about, and I don't really know where to put it or how to deal with it.
I'm looking here at what you watch, and I watched the same thing, and I'm still digesting it because it is cerebral.
Yes.
Okay, this sounds like an end of strategy talk discussion or end of quest log discussion. So maybe Bryan, tell us about the White Lotus.
Okay, the White Lotus is a mini-series that recently aired on HBO. Mm-hmm. I think it's like 6 episodes long, and it's about a hotel on an island in Hawaii called the White Lotus. And the first season of this miniseries was a huge success, so they're going to make another season about a different White Lotus hotel, because now apparently it's a chain.
It's about the hotel?
Yeah. So I guess it's going to be an anthology series about people on holidays for a week.
I like that.
Does murder ensue? Like,
what's
the...
Okay, so like starts off and you have a recently married man, and it's the last day of the holidays, and he's about to get on the return trip back to America, back to mainland America, and he's at the airport, and he's pissed off, and he looks out the window, and they're putting human remains onto the plane, and you're like, okay, someone's going to die in this, and then it goes, 6 days earlier, and you're like, okay, and like it's not a murder mystery or anything, but that's just kind of like how they frame it, and it's kind of looming over you the whole time, because like this is a very unnerving and unsettling show because of how uncomfortable everyone is. It's essentially a show about a bunch of stupid white people on holidays in Hawaii and just being rich and ignorant.
Perfect.
It's written by a guy called Mike White, and he knows exactly who he's writing this about. And the ending, actually, I don't want to spoil the ending, but the ending was kind of polarizing because he writes them in a way that, you know, they're narcissistic and they're unlikable, but the ending isn't satisfying or happy. But I think that was the point he was trying to make. Yeah. Because it's not his place to tell a story.
I feel like
his name is Mike White.
I think it's practically every time something ends that people are like not happy. Like I feel like it's so rare you get like, I don't know what you'd call it, like a
catharsis,
a consensus that an ending is good, you know.
Yeah.
I guess it's hard to end things.
You see, it's incredibly hard.
I think like with a lot of shows, like a lot of TV shows and a lot of comics and stuff, their kind of whole like existence is dedicated to keep going so that everyone can stay employed and keep making money. And then they have to do the complete opposite of that. And I think
just shut it off.
Yeah,
and it has to be a smooth shutdown.
I like a lot of I love the Sopranos ending. I love the Mad Men ending. I like lots of endings, but it's crazy how annoyed people get.
Anyway, the ending to this is very polarizing, but I thought it was great. It really fit the rest of the tone of the show. But I guess the guests are kind of divided into 3 different parties. You have a family, you have a newly married couple, and then you have a very lonely woman who's on holidays on her own with her mother's ashes.
Oh.
And she's my favorite.
That sentence just kept going.
So she's played by Jennifer Coolidge, who I love so much because she's like a live action cartoon. She's in Christopher Guest movies a lot, and she's played Stifler's mom in American Pie, and she knows what she looks like, and she's a character actor, and she plays like older rich white woman so well. And she plays this character with like a slight slur, as if she's kind of intoxicated from drinks earlier on in the morning. And the way the show properly starts is all the like VIP guests arrive on the island via like a special boat, and then the staff are out at the like port to like at the pontoon to welcome them all. And right away she gets off the boat and she's like, "I'd really like a massage. Can you book me in for a massage?" And they're like, "We can book you in first thing tomorrow morning." And she's like, "I need a massage right now." And like and right away I'm just like, okay, she's brilliant.
Do you ever feel like that, Niamh?
No.
Oh man, I do every day.
Not really.
This is John when he
I'd
gets
like a massage. I'd never go and do it though.
I wake up and that's what I'm like.
I might actually try and book a massage next month.
I can recommend someone terrific
to personally beat the shit out of me, physically and emotionally.
Yep.
Hijinks ensue, and the guests immediately start pairing off, or like squaring off with different members of the hotel staff. And so you kind of have like your protagonist, antagonist like narratives with like different members of the hotel staff with the different customers on holiday, I guess, the different guests. And one of them is the recently married husband, the groom, I guess, who right away does not get along with the hotel manager, and their relationship for the entire week is amazing. It's just an adult baby and then a man who made an honest mistake but won't admit it openly and just keeps trying to misdirect the problem. And it just it like by the last episode he does some stuff and you're like, you know what, fair enough.
I don't mean this in a bad way. Is this show frustrating?
It's a very dark satire.
Okay.
But it's frustrating in a way that it's kind of like satire where it's honest and brutal and hard to look at. But I guarantee a lot of the fictional events of this film or TV series are probably based on some form of truth.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
As someone who's watching a lot of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, let me tell you, those women are sauced at every hour of every day. They are not without a white wine, like at all times.
So I was rewatching some Riverdale recently, and the host of Real Housewives was in it as the host of Real Housewives.
Really?
That makes sense.
He's a friend of the lodges. He literally just walks in from off screen. He's like, "Hi, everybody. Hermione, I wish you would be in Real Housewives." And she's like, "I can't. Me and my husband are trying to buy this town."
And Kyle would never let her.
It's Hiram. Hiram's her husband, Niamh.
Yeah, and Kyle is the queen bee of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Okay.
She'd eat her up.
Niamh's doing her side of the lore.
Okay. Bryan, that sounds great.
It's very easy to watch it in like 1 or 2 days, and the only kind of problem I have with it is it's one of those TV shows, and I guess this was a thing in older TV shows. You know, TV shows used to have music.
Yeah.
But they'd have music all the way throughout. So like
the music with Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
So someone like picks up a glass and it goes dun, dun.
Yeah. So it doesn't really have that, but like if a character is not talking and they need to interlude to another scene, they will add in some music. But it is a lot of heavy panting. Now I'm going to do an impression of the music, and when you watch a TV show,
Bryan, I don't think.
No, this sounds great.
Okay. There's a lot of and like I liked it. I was into it. But there's some heavy panting. So make sure you have it on full blast, John, okay?
Okay.
As soon as you watch the show, that's all you're going to picture. It's just...
like, he's right.
I really, really want to like see the behind the scenes of like the artists doing the recording of the music, because I think it was just a bunch of people just panting into microphones. It's good stuff.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I've never heard of this show, and now I'm like, okay, we'll watch.
A lot of heavy petting, a lot of heavy panting.
Petting?
Just heavy everything.
Okay. Huh. Okay, guys, look, I'm sorry. It's Wrestle Talk.
Now that's some heavy petting.
That is some heavy petting. Some heavy punking.
Oh yeah, I see why now. That's
yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's the name of the guy. CM Punk came back after 7 years, and wrestling has never felt more fucking weird. It is really hard to like vocalize what is happening in wrestling right now, because it is genuinely, we are getting real, like Sony coming out and saying that the PlayStation is $100 less expensive than the Sega Saturn. WWE just had SummerSlam, which is like their second biggest event of the year. A lot of people say that SummerSlam was really crazy. I think it was fucking shite. I think it was a really bad event on so many levels. And there was 2 big flashpoints. You had Becky Lynch coming back. That's great. That's really cool.
Welcome back.
The problem was that she came back and squashed the current women's champion. And the current women's champion is Bianca Belair, who is the woman who beat Sasha Banks in a fucking like 30-minute barn burner at WrestleMania. Becky Lynch comes out, literally beats her in one move, 20 seconds, and it's
sucks.
over. It really sucks. And like Bianca, she's important. You know, it's like she was part of the first ever main event, WrestleMania, with 2 black women, and who just squashed her like that. And she's super talented. You know, she has everything. And it feels like what a lot of people think happened is that WWE got word that CM Punk was coming to AEW, and they just hit the fucking oh shit switch and just started throwing everything they could. Brock Lesnar came back at SummerSlam, and it was like, fine. I still don't ever need to see another Brock Lesnar-Roman Reigns match, but it'll probably be more interesting because Roman Reigns is amazing now. And the whole show, it just felt so tired, and it was such WWE wrestling. It was so like, move, stop, look at crowd, move, stop, look at crowd. It's like watching a film and they pause between every scene to explain what just happened. You know, it's like there's so little storytelling to it, and Goldberg came back again, and
he's back.
No one likes Goldberg.
There's a reason for that.
Okay.
Goldberg squashed The Fiend when The Fiend was like at his run, and WWE basically do this thing where WWE love big stars, but they love corporate created big stars. Vince McMahon wants to be the one to mold the muscular clay. And when something starts getting too big and starts overshadowing his superstars, he has this bizarre tendency to just fucking squash them. And it's the weirdest thing. And like, he's really like, it's really antagonistic towards your own fan base, and that's been happening for years. Like, that happened with Daniel Bryan, happened with CM Punk. It's happened over and over and over.
Did Vince come out?
No, Vince makes like an appearance once a year, and it makes no sense. Like, his words make no sense, and then he doesn't appear for another year. And sometimes he looks older, sometimes he looks younger. I don't know what's going on.
It probably depends on the blood boy and how fresh how fresh the blood is.
Like, the time before last was the picture I sent you, Brian, and I was just like, I don't think Vince is doing so good. But then the last time he looked like he was about 10 years younger than that. Still very old, but not on death's door anymore. But it's been a really frustrating product to watch. And like, one thing I really felt watching SummerSlam was like, I don't know that this is for me anymore. You know, I feel like WWE, they have such a complicated relationship with wrestling. Like, Niamh, earlier on we were talking about a game that's trying to be a film that we'll get to. It feels like wrestling is trying to be a TV show. It's not trying to be wrestling in WWE. And it fucking sucks because they have such amazing talent. Like, they have people like Kofi Kingston who just, they completely wasted, you know, and they had Big E, and now he seems to be out of the title picture. And it's like they have all these amazingly charismatic, athletic people, and they never get a chance to breathe, you know, or they get a chance and then it just ends immediately. Like, Kofi was fucking brilliant. Do you guys know Kofi Kingston?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a member of the New Day.
Oh,
Real skinny little dude, unbelievably likable, amazingly talented, and he had a run as the champion that was great, and then they jobbed him out to Brock Lesnar in 20 seconds. And it's just, I never want to believe in WWE stars anymore, because why would I? Yeah. You know, they're always going to get beat by whatever version of John Cena that they're trying to push, you know? And like, it's not like I don't like Drew McIntyre, and I genuinely do love Roman Reigns, but it is an exhausting product to have a relationship with. Like, Brian, I am like Nintendo 2012 Direct of just being like, what the fuck was that? You know, like, that's where I am with WWE, and it's
perfect. It's
genuinely maddening. And then the fucking Goldberg match. I think what happened, they had this, you have Bobby Lashley, right? He's the big muscly guy. Mm-hmm. He's kind of like Brock Lesnar. And they had Goldberg, and they were meant to have this big match, and like, they keep trying to build Bobby Lashley as this big fucking monster, but it's like backstage they had an argument that they didn't want anyone to actually lose, and so it was just this overbooked mess where someone got hit in the knee with a cane, and it fucking... Not the cane, and it fizzled out so hard, and it was such bollocks. Michelle was mad. That's how bad this was. So yeah, I'm so just fucking done with WWE. I might cancel my WWE subscription, and I'll only have 3 wrestling subscriptions left then. Yeah, I realized today that I'm subscribed to 4 different wrestling streaming services.
Could you list them all?
Sure. You got WWE.
Yeah.
You got Fight TV. That's for AEW.
Okay.
You got New Japan Pro Wrestling, and you got DDT Pro Wrestling for the Japanese lady shit.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Write it all off on taxes, because I made some wrestling videos that one time.
Yeah, it counts. It's research.
Yep. And then you have AEW, which is genuinely some of the best wrestling television I think ever seen now. It's just great. It's like, all the characters like matter. They all have shit going on. They all have stuff that they're working towards, and it's so good. Like, a big story right now is like Hangman Adam Page. He's Kenny Omega's ex-boyfriend. He was like Kenny Omega's rebound after Kota Ibushi. They won the tag titles together. Hangman had a bit of a drinking problem. Kenny broke up with him and became the world champion, and Hangman just fucking kind of just languished for a while, but now he's kind of on his redemption tour, and he's made friends with the best, friendliest, most supportive creepy cult ever called the Dark Order. And it's been such a magical storyline, and we're slowly building to Hangman and Omega, and it's just been like a year and a half of consistent, well-told storytelling, and it's been brilliant. And there's like a lot of instances of that with AEW. There's a lot of like, oh, I really like this person and want them to do well. Oh no, this has happened to them. And like, they'll do stuff like with WWE, if someone goes out of the title picture, they're just done. And they go into some stupid new feud straight away. If someone loses a belt in AEW, it becomes part of their story that they're sad they've lost the belt, and they start behaving like self-destructively or whatever. You know, like, it's a narrative, and it has like...
It's a real blow to the confidence.
Yeah, peaks and valleys and stuff. And like... And even just the character work in AEW, like there's two people who are really similar in WWE and AEW right now. You got Bobby Lashley, and he's known as the Almighty. That's his entire gimmick. He's very big and he's very strong, and he's called the Almighty. But then you have this other guy in AEW called Miro. And Miro is very big and very strong, and he's also a champion. But his name is the Redeemer, and he calls himself God's favorite champion. And you can see how like the two gimmicks are similar. But like Miro, when he beats someone, and he beats the fuck out of them, and then he'll like get down on the ground and start like cradling their head and being like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry I had to do this to you, but you are redeemed, it's okay. And he's fucking amazing. On top of all this, like, you had last Friday, and it was CM Punk coming out after 7 years of being away, and it was like just a monumentous occasion. It was like exactly what it needed to be. He came out, he fucking buried WWE for like 9 minutes, and he pretty much just picked out one of the young guys in AEW and was like, we're gonna fight. That was it. And it was incredible.
Did he win?
They haven't fought yet.
Oh, okay.
Just hyping it up.
So, on top of CM Punk, AEW have also signed Daniel Bryan, or as he will be known in AEW, Bryan Danielson.
That's his real name.
That's his real name. And it is heavily rumored that they have signed Bray Wyatt, the Fiend. And it's insane. And part of me thinks like maybe WWE just does not care. Maybe like wrestling fans is just not what they're going for anymore. Because WWE is huge. And maybe they have just no interest in appealing to this like tiny vocal minority of their audience. Maybe they just want to make, cartoons. Because that's what it feels like. But it is a really insane time to be watching wrestling. And it's been fun. And I am sad about WWE, but AEW has been just so killer. And I'm so excited to see where it goes from here. And like, I can't believe CM Punk's going to wrestle again. I nearly cried. It was great.
It's okay to cry for a man.
I've cried for plenty of man. Speaking of which, Bryan,
yes,
you finished JoJolion.
I did. I finished JoJolion. JoJolion ended after 10 years and 3 or 4 months. It started in like the beginning of summer 2011. I think it was like May or June 2011. And it wrapped up August 2021. It actually started shortly after the tsunami in Japan, and that's where the walleye stuff kind of happened.
Oh, wow.
Because it was kind of written as a response to that.
That's crazy.
In some ways. It ran for 110 chapters, I think. So it's the longest running JoJo series. It is monthly, but if you totaled all the pages, it would still be longer than the weekly serialized previous parts.
That's nuts. And the chapters are long, aren't they?
Yeah, they're about 45 pages. Overall, I really, really enjoyed it. The last 2 years of JoJolion have been weird because I guess the last big bad fight in a JoJo takes several chapters to digest, in that it is a confusing battle for a couple of chapters. Then Araki, the author, has to explain the ridiculous stand that he has invented for the main villain, and then has to kind of problem solve. And so there was a lot of confusion, and 90% of it was resolved, and the way they defeated the final villain was very satisfying. And then I guess the epilogue of the series was fantastic. And it was a tricky one to end because it's a mystery genre this time around with JoJo. Like it begins and you have a character who doesn't know his identity, and he gets the nickname Josuke. And about 50 chapters in, he learns his identity. And then the remaining kind of 50, 60 chapters is him kind of like trying to solve a curse in the town. And for the most part, they answer almost all the mysteries except for some really glaring plot holes where, I guess because it's a serialized story and you're not writing it with an ending in mind, or you have a loose ending, but there's going to be plot threads that just don't go anywhere, unfortunately. But I think for the most part, it does stick the landing, and it was very satisfying.
My Part 4 theory was never confirmed.
So what was your Part 4 theory?
The one about... Do you remember in Part 4, Josuke's backstory is he saw a guy with cool hair?
Yeah.
I thought part 8 was going to wrap back around and Josuke from part 8 was somehow going to have time traveled and been that guy.
To that AU. That would have been great.
It would have been. Maybe that was the plan at some point. Araki's weird.
So, I think it's in one of the early chapters of part 8, Josuke, he gets like a wave of memories hitting him all of a sudden. And there's this character called the Flashback Man. And it's this design for a man. And like he's got a really distinct face. And Josuke's like, who's that guy? Never comes up again. Because I think at one point
you figure it out.
Because I think at one point Araki was like, that's going to be the main villain of part 8. And that did not happen.
That's pretty funny.
But like, without going into spoilers, the ending is great. And JoJo usually ends with either like, you know, a happy ending or the most like miserable, like heart-crushing ending.
Can't wait for part 6.
And the ending to part 8 was really sweet and lovely, and it's a really nice ending.
I feel like that final stand battle is always like a big deal in the end part of JoJo. Like it's the final boss. From what you were telling me, Brian, it kind of sounds like there is a final stand battle, but it's not like really on that same scope.
Yeah, so the final villain's last stand is absolutely fantastic, and it has this really weird complexity and lots of illusions are cast, but it's a bad luck stand where that if you pursue the stand in any capacity, bad luck happens to you and you will eventually die. And so the main issue with the stand is who it belongs to, and I guess it's kind of like, you know how in part 5 the big bad is Diavolo, but you're not introduced to Diavolo until the very end.
Yeah.
But at least there's some sort of setup with Diavolo. Like, he's not mentioned by name, but like, you know, he's...
There's the boss, there's the idea.
Yeah, it's Trish's dad.
When I reread part 5, I appreciated Diavolo a lot more.
Okay, so the big bad of part 8 doesn't feel like the big bad. Like, I don't see this character as an SAS figure, even though like he will probably get an SAS figure, but like he's introduced in chapter 80 and they sort of have to kind of retcon him in, and it's really ham-fisted. It doesn't feel organic in any way, and like he's a great villain, but there's other villains in it that, like, especially because there's an older brother in the family called Jobin who's like lying to his family about his like true motives. And to me, he felt like the big bad, but he's not the big bad. He's just like in cahoots with the League of Villains.
It's
of
like
part
the
8.
interpersonal stuff is more.
Well,
like,
it's way more interesting.
I think that's like something like Final Fantasy X. You have like that whole Jecht is the bad guy and Sin and stuff, but then at the end you fight Yevon, and you're kind of like, yeah, kind of felt I had my boss fight with.
Was Yevon the little spider thing?
Yeah, the orb.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is this?
It's just underwhelming.
It's just kind of like, I guess this is the big bad, but the emotional big bad
it's a very
Jecht.
It's a very JRPG thing to be like, I've finally beaten my father and resolved all my personal issues. Now to fight the god of the universe.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's just like compared to part 7, which had Funny Valentine as the villain. And then you get this like crazy epilogue chapter where you're racing against Diego Brando from another universe. And then that just feels like a mini like by the way villain. But like it still kind of works because like at that point like they've still got to finish the race, so they have to fight, like they have to make up some shitty antagonists.
Like Diego was
or Dio Brando, and he's got the world, like he's back.
Like that was a really just nuts plans payoff kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like I've read in interviews with Araki where he takes a lot of pride in being like, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in the next chapter. I have to figure it out. And like he gave the example of like he never wants to know how his protagonists are going to be a stand user because he wants to feel that tension, which is really interesting. But I think a kind of offshoot of that kind of storytelling is sometimes you have kind of what you're talking about, Brian, where it's like, and then the world appeared, you know?
Yeah, because the way he set it up was that 2 or 3 years ago, he did a flash forward and all this fucked up shit started happening. Kind of similar to how in the final battle against part 4, all the main characters start dying and then they have to undo that. So this happens where it goes, in 48 hours this happens and a bunch of fucked up shit happens. And it goes, let's go back 48 hours in time, and then they're going to play it out like in the sequence of events. But the sequence of events do not line up with the 48 hours that was already hinted at. It's real, it's kind of jank that way. But overall, I did like it. It's got a weird mix of that. Like the first half is just like Josuke trying to figure out who he is. Once you figure out who he is, it's super interesting. And then it's him trying to stop a bunch of rock men who are kind of similar to the Pillar Men of part 2.
Oh, I didn't know that at all.
And Araki explains the biology of them, and they're basically kind of like they are similar to vampires in that they live forever and they're kind of parasites among humans, and they run a business where they have fruit that does equivalent exchange, and Josuke has to protect Holly, just like in like it pulls from all these different threads from the other parts.
It's like poetry, it rhymes.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like the last 2 chapters, it goes back into the like JoJo lineage and explains like, this is what this JoJo did, this is what that JoJo did, and this is how we ended up getting all these JoJos. And I think they put out a notice saying, please stay tuned for part 9, JoJo lands. And apparently the break between part 7 and part 8 wasn't that long, so I'm expecting part 9 to come out by the end of the year, so there's going to be a new JoJo soon.
That's nuts. Can't wait to read that one in another 10 years. Because I started reading this like 8 years ago, and then I was just like, I'm going to stop and wait till he's done. And finally I can read part 8.
Yeah. Like some of my favorite battles are in it, but...
Oh, yeah. Like even some of them, I've only read like maybe a third of it, and some of the fights were just amazing.
Yeah. I don't really like the gang that much because like he does have a few allies that help him in battle, but they're just not that fun as a dynamic as a group.
I think the gang is kind of hit and miss.
Yeah. I do love Yasuo. I love Josuke and Yasuo together. They're absolutely fantastic.
They're really cute.
There's a guy called like, I think his name is Edamame or Mamazuke. Like his motif is like peas. He's not very good, and the maid is okay, but I was kind of disappointed with what they do with her.
Yeah, because for a while it seemed like she had some real shit going on.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a bit disappointing. But then the Higashikata family are fantastic, especially Joshu, who's meant to be like the same age as Josuke, but I guess if like...
He's Milhouse.
Yeah, he's Milhouse or Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, he's just an absolute
he's
weenie.
The worst.
Oh, he's the worst. And at the very end, he tries to, like, redeem himself, and it's still the worst.
Brilliant.
But, yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I'm still thinking about it, but I don't know how to... I'd like... It was a tricky one to end, and it ended about as well as it could have, to be honest. But, no, I really like Part 8. It's going to be okay.
Gamescom is happening right now, and we have some breaking news. There's a new Saints Row game.
Whoa.
And you can play as April in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fighting game, and she looks great.
Does she have the yellow jumpsuit?
Boy, does she.
Hell yeah.
This is the old Turtles in Time reboot kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it looked cool. Okay. Niamh, you've watched all the Eva rebuilds?
I have.
So do you want to maybe... Do you want to cover 1 to 3 first, and then we'll dive into a 4.0 discussion?
I didn't watch 1 because I was like, I don't need to watch that because I rewatched.
No one ever needs to watch that.
I really like the Ramiel bit.
I really like it. I just had rewatched the entire series like this year as well.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I was just like, okay, I don't need 1, and I want to get to
and 2 is new material.
The new one. So yeah, I decided to rewatch all the Evangelion rebuilds in preparation for the release of Thrice Upon a Time. I really like those movies a lot. Like, I think part 2, really long movie, starts off pretty good, peters out a little for me in the end. I really love 3. I know people aren't a huge fan of that one, but I really enjoy it. And I was really like invested where this was all going, and it's kind of like...
I love the ending of 3.
Like, what are the rebuilds? It's kind of like a retelling of Evangelion. It's like a canon divergent alternate universe that introduces extra characters, and we're like, what if this happened this way, or what happens if this thing happened to this person instead of this person? But they're kind of doomed to play out everything anyway. It's like, what if Gendo was like a little bit nicer to Shinji? It's just like, wow, that seems lovely, until it's not, because he's still just consistently rejecting him anyway.
Yeah, it just ups the drama.
By 3, it was finally kind of moving out of the original series kind of shadow and still being an alternative AU, but it was kind of going its own path with these characters in a really, really sincere and interesting way. And it was really building up to this showdown where it's kind of like, if the original series is this kind of depressed child dealing with their father in a kind of more thematic sense. In this, it's very like, okay, now you actually have to physically fight him. There was multiple stages like at 3 where I was just like, I just love how this looks. I love the use of the 3D animation. I think the angels are so, like, the coolest angel always for me was the Prism. Ramiel.
Yeah, he's at the end of the first one. And Jesus Christ.
And it's just such a cool design because, like, it was always so alien. And the use of 3D has just kind of allowed them to consistently play with that really alien look to the angels and just the scale of them in a really convincing way that I just find, like, I love how they look. I think they're so cool looking.
Yeah, I really love the one that Asuka fights in 2.0 where it looks like the inside of a pendulum clock.
Yeah.
I love the one with the kind of paper arms.
Oh, yeah.
That thing's so... There's one shot where, like...
The one that's insanely strong.
Tiny Ava and that big thing just filling the screen, and it's, like, an amazing shot.
Yeah.
So much feelings about this stupid series.
It's like, I'm still, like, processing it. I don't know how to talk about it.
I went through many things with this last movie.
From 2 has an aesthetic that really is in keeping with the original series, but by 3 it kind of moves into a more like sharper, angular, like nearly Trigger looking style of things. The characters are drawn a little different, and that continues moving like that into Thrice Upon a Time as well.
Especially because 3 like doesn't use any backgrounds anymore from the original series because it's just a completely different physical location at that point, which I really like as well. It's just this surreal wasteland of just constant birth and death.
There was like this moment in 3 where they have like squared off a bit of the ocean, and the kids haven't seen real ocean, like, so they're just like, oh wow, it's like crazy that there was stuff alive in here and it wasn't just all red and empty and wasteful. And it was just like, I don't know, in our current climate crisis, like I was just like like it was impactfully like,
it was depressingly relatable.
Yeah, depressingly relatable, and the scale of it felt right and weird, you know. John, you should talk now for a while.
Okay, like, I have a lot of kind of similar feelings about the rebuilds. I really loved 2.0 because I loved how much of that movie felt like... I think for me, when I think like a lot of my favorite moments in Evangelion, it's like Asuka asking Shinji to kiss her in the apartment and just being the stupid, weird, awkward exchange between two teenagers, or like Shinji bringing Rei her passcode and like all that kind of stuff. I really enjoy like the more intimate moments of Evangelion, and I loved a lot of that in 2.0. 3.0 is a really difficult film for me in a lot of ways because it's in some ways like I don't like how much of that film is like conversations between two people like expositing kind of what's happening in the outer world, and it's also like I don't think I'll ever get over the shock of how much it diverged from the original series. I don't think that's a bad thing, but for me, I wanted like, you know, Masato Shinji, I wanted like Asuka Shinji and like all that kind of stuff, and I was sad we didn't get it with that movie, but I can also appreciate that movie does, you know, infinitely builds on like what Shinji and Kaoru are. Yeah, and
I really respect the fuck the fans attitude of that film.
I kind of like I don't
show the sneak preview at 2.0.
Yeah,
and none of that footage is in the next film.
Although I would fully believe that was meant to be in the film at some point, and Anno changed his mind. Apparently, there's a 2-hour documentary about the production of this, and Anno just like he just cuts and cuts and cuts. So with 3.0, like I've come to respect 3.0. I find it difficult to say I ever like really enjoyed it or got a lot out of it, like compared to the rest of the series, but I know people do. And so 4.0, I felt in a super weird place going into it. I think I said it on this podcast where I feel like I don't know how I feel. Like I didn't really feel anything about the prospect of watching 4.0. And so I watched it one night and I really hated it. I really, really hated it.
Not for John.
I got nothing out of it, and there was so much that I just found kind of frustrating. And I was really upset, and I was like, I don't want to hate this movie. Like, I don't want this not to be for me. But in my defense, I just uploaded a video. I was very, very tired, and just, I don't think really open to an experience like that. And so 2 days later, I watched it again, and I actually found that I really came around on it a lot. and my appreciation for it has grown since then. I think a lot about this movie is like a hot fucking mess.
It's 3 films strung together.
Oh, I would call it 2. Like, I kind of felt it was like going halfway pretty as a continuation from 3, and then he abandons his movie, and I feel like he's like, I've got to a point where I don't know how to end this, so all I can do as a creator is tell you what this story meant to me personally, and what these characters were thematically and the semiotics of them, and that's what the characters start doing. They start like explaining their roles as characters and the CG gets ropey, and it's kind of weird because the CG has been good up until this point, and it gets kind of ropey, but then it's like
But then it's kind of on purpose.
But it's on purpose. So that's,
and like, are you talking about the fight scene between Gendo and Shinji?
Yeah.
Because I was kind of watching it like depressed and sleepy, and I was like, why is the 3D so shit here? And then
the buildings are just like made out of paper.
Yeah, but they're not even made out of paper. They're just polygonal cubes rolling.
But,
and I was
then it turns out to be Tokusatsu.
But then they slam up against the sky
card.
The sky, and you're like, oh,
it's a set.
Okay.
It's Truman Show.
Yeah, and like, I kind of do agree with Bryan a bit about it being 3 movies, because it's like the village, the naval battle, and then the fucking just existential
cerebral introspective
of Evangelion.
Like as soon as they go into like the negative universe, and you're back on that fucking train, and it's just like, who am I? What am I? And it's just
It's like, I would like consider the part with Rey at the start as the other part of that, because it's kind of like the hope. It's kind of, this is what you're fighting for, and it's kind of life continues on, and then the next part is so like,
I love the village
so
tree stuff.
dire. Yeah, the village is so nice.
The village was like the most like original Evangelion vibes I've gotten from the rebuilds.
I felt so bad for Shinji though, because I just came off 3 where like, you know how Kaoru goes out in 3, and then like Rey comes and she's like, hey Shinji, see you're dealing with your trauma, be a pity if I like fucking blew up right now.
She pops, but it's a happy pop. It's not a sad pop.
When she popped, I literally went, oh!
Yeah, I was like, no,
it was so good. Because like, I really didn't like the Rey in 3.0. I was like, oh, what the fuck have they done?
But that's the point.
But and she really wins you over in the 4th movie. I was like, this Rey's great.
That's why I really like 2, because like, I really like the extended cast of Evangelion, and they actually don't get a lot of time in Evangelion, and like Masato, Ritsuko, like Maya, like all the team, I really like them, and I really like the rebuilds kind of give those characters more time. And I liked in 2 where there was these moments where Shinji was just kind of like, you know, offering Rey her bento, like she says she's vegetarian, so kind of putting that consideration into her, and her getting a kind of moment to just kind of feel human connection. And that's why it makes it so sad in 3 where it's like, oh, this isn't that Rey.
No, it's a different one.
It's this like, it's the I'll do it if you order me to Rey. And but then it shows by that stage that no, she has all the capability for like empathy and learning and love and all of these things.
I think one of the reasons I was really disappointed with, and like Rey's my favorite character, and the reason I was really disappointed is like what I love about Rey's arc in the original is like, you know, they do it in a really different way, but she gets to that point where she's actualizing and she's realizing she's a person, and that she's realizing she's not a tool, and she just gets to that point, and that's when she dies and she resets and she becomes, you know, she goes back to like the original clone. And I wish we had the drama of losing her again, but I also didn't know that they were going to bring back original Rey in 4.0
with the really long hair.
Where that was something that really bothered me in 3.0. Now that I have the full picture, I can kind of be like, oh, okay, and that bothers me less.
Like, you know? To me, there's a lot of stuff at 3.0 where you are disorientated and confused because you're in Shinji's perspective, right? And because there's a 15-year time skip, and whatever happened when the third impact started and Kaoru came down with the lance, and then what's his name, Misato's Kaji has sacrificed himself, but you don't realize that until the next movie. And they show some glimpses of it, but it's still vague enough that you still have to fill in the blanks. Yeah. And just the fact that in 3.0, I think there's only one angel battle, most of the battle, like there's very little like big robot fighting in that film. And with this, there's like one angel, but it's the 9th angel, and then the other angel is, you know, whatever, humanity. But like at that point, they've stopped fighting the angels. They're just
fighting nerve.
Yeah. It really is just an all-out civil war.
Like, there was a point where I was really frustrated when it was Shinji fighting Gendo in a mech battle, because I was like,
in a mech that looks like his mech.
yeah, that was annoying visually, but I just felt like, wow, this is the most trite fucking thing you could do with Evangelion. But then I think the film acknowledges that, and it's like, oh, combat will get us nowhere.
Yeah, I think that's it, and it's like, and I feel in two minds about it, because like I feel it's the most Evangelion ending that could ever happen, where the story gets hijacked for Anno to tell us about his feelings, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And it was kind of getting trite, where I was kind of like, okay, so they're just physically fighting, because before it was such like an emotional battle, like it was like the scars of trauma, well, like, and now it's like this physical.
With very rare exception, in real life you don't end up beating the shit out of your dad.
Yeah.
You know, so I was kind of like, you know, because I think everyone can see a bit of their own relationship when their dad at Shinji versus Gendo. That's why it's such a powerful relationship. But the idea that the blow off to that is a mech battle was like, oh no. But it wasn't that. I feel like that was nearly like this weird, is this what you wanted? And then lean away kind of thing.
Yeah. For me, it ends when like Misato gets shot in the stomach, and like they're all there, and I think they've all accepted. Like they all know they're going on a suicide mission.
Yeah, they really make peace with themselves.
Yeah, and Asuka kind of gets like, spoilers by the way, but like,
oh, that's fine. They're,
like, how can you talk about this without talking about this?
Yeah.
But like an Asuka gets like eaten or removed. That's kind of where that story ended for me, and I was kind of sad, because even though it ended in the most Evangelion way, with Anno kind of explaining why he made this and telling us he's in a good place, I was invested in the narrative. Like, I was invested in the narrative of the rebuilds and where that was going to end. Like, I was like looking forward to seeing what would happen to those characters. And it kind of was just like stopped. And that was a little frustrating for me, because I wanted to see what happened to Asuka. I wanted to know what happened to Mari. I wanted to know what happened to... like,
I really liked Asuka and Mari in general.
Yeah. And
I really love their friendship.
Yeah, and I really like their friendship as characters. But then by the end, Anno's really like, okay, look, I don't know how to end this. And I totally get why he wouldn't be able to end it, because there was multiple times during this when shit was going crazy that I was like, where does this go? How can you end it? So him going, I don't know how to end it, makes total sense. And if you read about this, he went around to everyone, every voice actor, every creative friend he knows, and he was like, I don't know who Shinji is anymore. I don't know how to relate to him. I don't know how to end this. What do you think should happen? So he's like really going into it with a collaborator's mindset, where he's telling this very personal story to him, but also he wants this input from other people kind of thing, and they're not the characters, but they are the characters. So to have a story that was kind of having this kind of, you know, it's this linear story that's happening, and then just have it hijacked by Anno's student film was kind of like shocking from a viewing experience. But by the end of it, I was kind of like, I don't think Evangelion could end in any other way.
It really doesn't have...
I think when you look at the two other ways the series has ended, it's consistent.
Yeah.
It's consistent.
The show loses control, and it has to just give itself up. And
I like its end thesis. Like, I think it's actually quite a radical end thesis to have, to say that, like, fuck nihilism. Embrace love.
So here's the thing, right? I was trying to figure out, when I watched that film the first time, I was like, there is something so un-Evangelion about this, and that really bothers me, and I couldn't figure out what it was. When I went back and I watched it, I realized that this, to me, is the first genuinely positive piece of Evangelion media.
Yeah, it's got a happy ending.
I think you could make an argument that like the end of the original series is kind of positive, but it was also like post-instrumentality, alternate universe fuckery we've all merged into one.
See, to me, the original ending is like this ignorant, like protecting yourself from the truth ending.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like...
But there's the acknowledgement of that as well, so it's kind of like, it is that, but it isn't that.
That was honestly one of my biggest problems with it when I first watched it, but in hindsight, I don't think that was a problem, because I think that's what Anno was really trying to say, and a lot of... I feel like, because like this movie is fucking divisive, and a lot of the criticisms, I feel like I kind of... And like, not that there aren't valid criticisms, because like there are, but like... I understand why people feel that way, but to me, the idea that Evangelion has dwelled in like turmoil and cynicism and nihilism for so long, and in this last moment we actually do get like fuck nihilism, that's great.
Yeah, love
Like,
reigns.
Yeah, like I think what better way could there be for this to end?
It's kind of like he's basically, the last hour of it is a love letter to his wife, and I think the song, like Utada's song at the end with its lyrics, was just like really like
The characters read her manga at one point.
yeah,
as well.
it's
Yeah,
like
they
it's really
do.
emotionally strong and stuff.
Did you watch the documentary about how his dad has one leg and stuff like that?
No, I don't know anything about him because I don't want to.
Oh, because like I do think like the Gendo stuff in this where I don't sympathize with Gendo, but like for ages I'm like,
So-
what's this guy's problem?
Yeah.
So I do think maybe Gendo's final monologue goes a little bit too far into we live in a society.
Yeah.
Well, like he's Anno meets the Joker.
Yeah, but
I love his design,
at
though.
the same time, Gendo's whole fucking motivation being like, I want to get back to Yui, I want to get back to Yui, I want to get back to Yui, and then finally realizing that the purest way he could have got back to Yui was just by engaging with Shinji.
Yeah.
That fucking rocked me.
Same here,
That
yeah.
really moved me in a way it took me a little while to get out of.
When her face flashed back and he was just like, it's like you were there all along, and
Yeah.
it's like he's fucked it, like he's ruined it, and it's like both Gendo and Shinji are Anno, and like Gendo is like the worst input, and it's like they're all like everything.
Two silly men.
Yeah, but then at the end it's like two children who are hurt as well, meeting each other on the train as well. I don't know, it's a hard one because I think this is less relatable because it's so personal. So Anno tells us like in it like love wins kind of thing, and that if he's looking at these characters, Mari all along was kind of, and you kind of, if you rewatch them really closely, Mari's like this Deus Machina character where she comes in, she saves the day, she never gets hurt, she's always like,
She's very competent.
She's always there at the right time to pull everyone out of the situation. She's a confidant for Asuka who never really gets that. She's also like kind of there for Shinji in her own weird way. She's this kind of interjecting force, and even at the end it really goes all out. It's really like on the nose. I kept thinking of like Death Stranding, and I brought you a metaphor, but like Mari's like Mari Iscariot, like she's Judas. And she's like, and like it's like the Judas in the situation is love turning on nihilism kind of thing. And I thought that was great, and I think all of this as a metaphor, Mari being the concept of love, is nice, but then Mari as a character who I enjoyed kind of just turning in by the end, this guy being like, well, she's just this concept, and I kind of hate what happened to Asuka in this kind of ending, because it's kind of like
She's
Mari
a
was
different
concept,
character to the
and
original series.
Asuka, like she's there because like she was like sexual desire, and she's like rendered in a really different kind of ecchi kind of style way for that moment. She does get a last moment where Asuka turns and she's facing Mari, so it's kind of like this isn't Asuka's story where she gets her kind of freedom or anything, but she does look at Mari at the end, and it's just like maybe if Asuka needs love as well, that's what Asuka's missing from her life.
Yeah. I do think like the way it's sexualized in Asuka in some bits was like just shitty.
It was super shitty, and it's weird because it's not in 3 at all. There's no fan service in 3. There's some in 2, but like this one really
There's so
went
many
all
ass
out.
shots in this, and like really creative shots where like I didn't know the camera could go
Yeah,
there.
and it just
But like
kind of felt
it's annoying
weird
because like if you go back and watch like a lot of original Evangelion, like there is fan service in it, but like there's one shot where it's like it's like a boob shot of Asuka, but it's that weird awkward thing where like Shinji and Asuka are in the same bed and he's looking at her, and like at least there I can make an argument that it's like, well, like it's a diegetic part of Shinji's character. Like it wants to show you that he is lusting after this girl because he's a fucking weird stupid teenager and his sexuality is like all over the place. And so like with shit like that, I'm like, I mean, I get it. With Asuka going around with like an army jacket and panties, like that design looked shit. They made Asuka look shit, but like it made me feel like when I see shit like that, it just makes me feel like this is what you want, you stupid loser. And it's like I mean, come on, like
Yeah, you do.
not honestly
really.
though, because
Not
like
for-
if
like,
I
not
want
Asuka.
Anna wants it.
if I want fan service, I will watch something else, you know.
You watch Fairy Tail.
But it just kind of made
Exactly.
it made me sad because like Shinji kind of gets his ending, and Anno gets to be like this is my story and this is how I wanted to play out, and these were what these characters were standing. And it's kind of like, as someone who was a real big fan of like Asuka and Masato and like Mari by the end of it, to have them kind of just be like, well, these were the proxies to tell my story, which is Shinji's story. I was kind of of like, I wish they got their ending, and like they didn't. And that's the sore part for me, that as a fan of those characters,
No,
I
they're
wanted
just
them,
out of focus in the train station.
Yeah, I wanted them to have their catharsis.
I was
but
pissed
it was
we
like,
didn't get like a proper adult shot of Asuka.
Yeah, she's just kind of sitting down looking at the floor.
Like it's a really far shot and it's a lot of focus, and even that I feel like would have been something. But ultimately, like, I got a lot out of this, and I kind of came away from it being like, oh, that's right, I fucking love Evangelion, and for me, that is the most I could have expected from this movie, and so yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I like. I'm still thinking about it, but I did like individual parts. I really liked when Ritsuko shot Gendo.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that.
And then his brain drips out, and then you see like what he looks like under that visor, and you're like, oh, well, yeah, obviously you'd look like that, dude. You fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ritsuko got a little bit of a payback because after getting shot in End of, I was just like, yeah, she gets to do it to him.
I love that bit, and I loved all the village tree stuff. That was just amazing. It's not pen, but I'm glad to see the penguins are back. They're very important.
Yeah, there was a lot of fun little... And just what you were saying earlier, Brian, New Ray, which really won me over.
Yeah, it did just feel like a very unusual man who's an otaku in his late 50s made a film.
They brought back the original voice cast in the dub. And I was so fucking happy. Oh my god. Yeah.
The
I'm nearly...
Amazon one?
The voice, so it's not the Netflix people are not the dub for the Amazon people.
No, they're
and like they bring back Ray's original voice actor, and she fucking kills it. She's such a great actor.
Cool, that's cool. I watched it in Japanese because I thought they didn't have the original dub people there.
Well, then I might rewatch it again with the dub.
Yeah, I thought it was a great dub.
Yeah, like, I mean, I love Evangelion. I'll love it forever. I feel like original Evangelion to me spoke to me, and like in a really deep way, where it kind of like was like, you can make art from a depressive point of view. You know what I mean? You can be a depressive person and make art about depression as a viewpoint, and not just like a sad thing that happens kind of thing. It's like a creative like mindset. And I think getting to this place with the Rebuilds, I felt it was less connective, because it's like, you know, there's some people in the world who don't get love, you know, don't experience love, and it isn't the healing thing that heals them. So I can see it being less like universally maybe something people would latch onto, because it's kind of like, it's become such a personal story where like I found the person who makes me happy, you know, where before it was kind of like, man, depression sucks, right? And it's just like, yeah. So I'm very happy for Anno. I'm happy he's in a better. I'm happy that he's in such a better place that he doesn't know what to do with Evangelion anymore.
It's done. He's deleted them
One
all.
of my favorite tweets I saw about this was just someone had just watched it. I think it was Mother's Basement, and he just said, "I'm really glad Anno could work through all that." That was his review of the movie.
And we all had to just watch the robot cartoon and learn about an adult man just figuring it all out.
Like it's tricky. I think you can pull a lot from Evangelion, and in some ways I think it is definitely less universal. In some ways it's like, I think even just what we were saying earlier about the tone shift for me, that was pretty fucking powerful. Like that was as someone who has been with that series for so long, that was a really big deal. But yeah, it's a weird movie, and I'm really looking forward to watching it on a big screen at some point.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll show it. I'm just thinking about like loads of franchises ending, and how so many of them end so badly, like
or just don't end.
And
I appreciate the upfrontness of like, I don't know what to do with this anymore.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you why I did it.
I feel like, okay, Anno, cool, thank you. Go make your battleship anime now that is not about feelings at all, but about the specific engine mechanics of old school Japanese battleships. Have a great time, buddy.
I really want more live action movies, please. I really want to watch the Cutie Honey movie that he directed.
Yeah, me too.
I'm curious about that, because I do like Shin Godzilla. That was a cool in between the third and fourth film.
He had a bad experience working on that, didn't he?
Did he?
I think I saw. Maybe I might be mixing.
I love Shin Godzilla so much.
But no, I think he thinks it's a good movie. I think he was like, that was really difficult.
Yeah. There's a co-director of this film. I can't remember his name. He directed FLCL. I actually want to find out this guy's name, because like he's the true hero. He's the guy that kind of reins it in and makes it into a like the film.
I love the fight at the start with Mari in the Eiffel Tower.
Yes, that was brilliant. Kazuya Suramaki's the other director.
Shot of like the red city. God damn.
And then they heal it. It's fine. It's all green again.
And the fucking dun. Oh, that got me real good.
Get fucking hype.
But yeah, I still don't know like what to make about the like. I'm happy they exist now, and I think if I went back and rewatched 3 now, I think I'd probably feel much better about it, because I think a lot of my anguish with 3 was feeling like particular storylines were cut off that I feel like really kind of boomeranged back in a weird way. Like I guess I should have known, but like even just, you know, Misato was so cold towards Shinji in 3, and it was so great to see them have like some tenderness again. And
maybe it was nice.
She was cold because she was hurt, John.
I know,
but also
and scared of him.
Yeah.
Like, is he God?
But they're already scared of that kid.
The way they build on that by her like not being around for her own kid, like that was fucking great. Like it was like, really of course she'd do that. Jesus. Okay. We could probably talk about this film forever, so we should probably stop. But I think thumbs up.
Yeah, I think I'm just sad that it's over, because when it wasn't out, there was always like the idea that it could go on forever.
Yeah,
but
that
now
weird
it's
mystery.
Like, yeah, and like what could it be?
That is
like,
literally exactly what I said when Berserk ended. Like, although there's one more chapter of Berserk, but yeah, you should go read Berserk. Niamh just gets that over that.
Oh, it's on my list. It's on my short list.
Steph told me she's reading Berserk and really enjoying it, and that made me really happy.
If Steph's doing it, then I have to do it.
That's why I brought it up. Strategy talk.
The video games are now being talked.
50 minutes in?
And 1 hour and 3 minutes in.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
It's time to talk about the video
games. And we have so many video games to talk about. Okay. I'm going to do a little update on Ace Attorney. I'm on the last case. I would say the first 2 cases of that game, super strong. Second 2 cases, not quite as strong, still good. There is one trope in Phoenix Wright games that I really don't like. I think this happened in previous games, but it's when the murder was by accident. So someone's like, I'm the murderer? And like it's a clever case, and it's fun how the whole thing, but I was a bit like And then there's one case that ends super ambiguously, and my problem with both those cases is that you never really get to the point of like peeling back the layers of a murderer and watching them go more and more insane, and that to me is
it's the best part.
It's the Phoenix Wright money shot, I guess you could say.
It's real good cracking those and getting to see the villain's true face.
Yeah, and so there's 2 cases in this where you don't really get that final expose, but they're still good cases, and the characters are still very good and everything. And I'm hoping this last case, I think I'm like about halfway through it, I'm hoping it turns into a real banger, because if it did, then this game is like a fucking fantastic game, as opposed to just a just a great game.
You really sold me on it last time we were talking, so I went to try and buy it, and the physical version of it did not get a release in Europe.
That's fucked up, really.
Yeah, it's only Japan and North America.
North America, yeah.
So trying to import a copy has been a nightmare, because trying to get it from the UK, import charges, trying to avoid all of that. Should I just buy it from America with those import charges? So I took a gamble and bought it off this site that had free shipping, because I thought that would just counteract its charges. Hasn't arrived yet, kind of like in a bit of a where's that kind of thing. But it just really sucks that this didn't get a physical release in Europe.
Yeah, I hope it does well, because I think it really deserves to. Like when I say the latter 2 cases aren't as good as the first, they aren't, but I also think they're of a higher quality than previous Phoenix Wright kind of mid-tier cases. Because like there's some cases in Phoenix Wright I couldn't tell you what fucking happened at this point, but like I know what happened in these, and they're all very like Sherlockian. They're all very like, oh, but how did it happen? And like it's good shit, and it's a very fun game, and like the whole kind of like character story is wrapping around now, and there's all this shit with like Sherlock and Watson, and it's
Herlock,
excuse me, but I think that game's fantastic. I'm looking forward to beating it. I might do one more little update, because I'm really curious to see where this last case goes. But I really think you'll be into it, Niamh. And like, I would not recommend you a visual novel-esque game lightly. But I just think this is a lot of fun, and I think you'll have a
I
good
looked up
time
the
with it.
Vampire Man, and I was just like, I'm sold.
Okay, but like, is this the first game of the 2 games that are on it?
Yes.
So you still like?
So I still have another 25-hour game to play.
Jesus.
And like, I'm sure it's going to be another Ace Attorney game, so I don't need to dive right into it. But I'm really happy knowing it's there.
Will
Bryan.
Yes, I'll talk. Hello, I'm Bryan. I will continue from a game I played last time. I beat Ganbare Goemon 3. That game was a trip. So what I thought that game was turned out to be more. It is essentially a Link to the Past clone. It is so like Ganbare Goemon 1, 2, and 4. I checked on how long to beat, and they take about 4 to 5 hours to beat. This game, Ganbare Goemon 3, takes 10 hours.
Wow.
It's just it is a different beast, and the way it sets itself up is that it has the top-down like Link to the Past kind of Final Fantasy look to it, but when you do the levels and you're in 2D, they're mini Metroidvania dungeons essentially. And because it's Konami, I think they actually did get some of the Castlevania stuff on this. They must have like borrowed them.
It has that feeling.
Yeah, and so like Mark Brown could do a boss keys on this game because like when you like play the actual dungeons, they do have like a central area, and there's a theme running through them. There's one where you're in a factory and you need to like destroy the two two furnace burners, and only then can you get into like the final boss area. And so there is a lot of just like remembering where you need to go and doing things in a certain order and backtracking once you have the item. Like it's kind of crazy that the game has that much nuance, because like the games are incredibly charming and the gameplay is fun and simple, but it was kind of interesting to see it applied to like a Metroidvania style on top of that. And like at one point Goemon gets the pipe that's in Goemon 64 where it has the extender, but he uses as a hook shot, and then that's used to get to certain parts of the game that you couldn't reach before. If you are playing this game, make sure to play patch version 4. Do not play a game before January 2020. Make sure it's the February.
Don't do it.
Just make sure it's the February 2020 version, because that has better translations. But yeah, I had a great time overall, and it's my favorite Goemon.
Are you moving on to 4?
Not immediately, but it's queued up.
Okay. It'll get played.
Oh yeah, it will.
That's great. I'm glad you're having such a good time with those games, Bryan.
I'm all in for Goemon. I've got the 2 N64 games digitally and physically.
Did you see the Goemon fan gamer thing they did?
Yeah, I want that plush.
I've spent a lot of money.
Yeah, you gotta, because you got Goemon, you got Ebisumaru, you got Sasuke the robot.
I bought the.
Are they all plushes?
There's only a plush of Goemon, but then there's a badge pin and
I
posters.
Think when I was looking at it,
and
Goemon, he was for pre-order. He couldn't order the plush yet.
Yeah,
but I think I pre-ordered that. I fucking hope I did. I also got the record. It's going to be my 4th video game soundtrack on vinyl record. I do not own a record player. Yeah.
Well, I've got one now, so we can all take.
I'm going to bring over Silent Hill Saturday.
Yeah, we're all going to sit around. If you want to play, if you want to bring over Nier Automata at some point.
Yeah, we can listen to 12 minutes of Nier music and then take the record off,
flip it around,
put it back on, and then listen to another 12 minutes. I'm sorry if there's a song that you don't like, because there's no way to skip it.
You can lift up the needle and put it into a bit different part of the groove, but you're not supposed to do that.
Not supposed to do that.
It's bold.
Yeah.
Goemon.
I played through No More Heroes, or at least I'm at the very last stage of No More Heroes.
The original one?
The original No More Heroes. This was the remastered version that released for the Switch last year.
Yeah, it came out in October and November alongside No More Heroes 2.
And I've always been a pretty big advocate for No More Heroes. I would go so far as to say one of my favorite game series ever. And, that is still true. But I think when No More Heroes came out for the Wii in the like Xbox 360, PS3 generation...
The game came out in 2008. A long time ago.
It was very dated for then.
Yeah.
Like, this is a PS2 game in a lot of ways. And, I think the high points of that game are as fun and as great as they always have been. I think the highlights of this are like the cutscenes, the interactions between the characters, basically you are Travis Touchdown. You're this fucking loser otaku who gets a lightsaber and starts working his way up the assassination ranks, starting at number 10 and ending at number 1. Each assassin is a weird, crazy person with a strange gimmick. They're not all amazing, but they nearly all are amazing. You have people like Dr. Peace, who's a doctor who likes to sing in a baseball stadium.
He's cool.
And he explains how he took his daughter out for dinner with all the money he'd made from the Assassin's League, but he couldn't enjoy it because the meat tasted like blood and his daughter wouldn't look at him. Just really stupid, fun, really dramatic conversations like that.
You've got Shinobu.
You got Shinobu, the best character of all time.
You got Bad Girl.
Bad Girl, the actual best character of all time.
You've got Henry, who's from Ireland for some reason.
Henry's from Ireland, and he's like maybe he's maybe our one video game character where we can be like, yeah, this guy's alright. Him and Nina Williams.
Yeah. You've got the granny who has the shopping trolley that shoots a laser beam.
She's actually pretty cool.
I love her fight.
I love her, yeah, she's great.
It's a really fun gimmick fight, which was then like recreated in like Dark Souls, I think. You know, that
Oh god, you're right.
Yeah, where you're just going down a corridor and you've got to avoid the beams, and then you just chip away.
Totally.
It's just that boss.
Yeah, it's those parts of the game, and like its attitude, its music, even it's like
the music's so good.
And like, you know, it's a lot of stupid stuff. It's like every save spot is a toilet, and they've like 3D models different toilets for every single one. You press save and Travis pulls his pants down and the save covers like his dick. It's fun. The game part of it is still like, I think like mechanically the game feels good. It has a really aggressive like hit stun, or like like the screen pauses for like 0.2 seconds every time you hit someone. It's so jarring when you start playing it, but like when you get used to it, you stop noticing it, and it does actually add a kind of to the hits.
Yeah, it does.
There is not a lot of depth to the fighting. Like, you can get better at it for sure, and there's like, you know, it can be really satisfying to just clear an entire room without getting hit.
I do really like the assassination missions where you like, it'll be loads of guys with guns and they're a pain in the ass if there's a group of them.
Yeah.
But solving that problem with your beam katana is good.
It's fun, and like there's somewhere it's like you can't take a single hit, and just figuring out, okay, I need to go for this guy, then this guy. That is super satisfying. There's some levels, and like, I'm not exaggerating, they're literally giant hallways, and there's 40 enemies between you and the start, and you just kind of hack through them. And
the bit where you're in the baseball stadium and it's the baseball boys and they keep throwing the balls at you, and
yeah,
and it turns into this mini game, but you're not expecting it, so you keep botching it.
Yeah, that game is so charming and it's so weird, and I love it. I don't think it's something I can really recommend people play anymore, because I just think the gameplay is that dated. But what I'd say, like, if you've listened to a lot of this podcast and you notice that my tastes and your tastes are similar, if you like the kind of stuff I like, you'll probably get a kick out of this if you're willing to put up with just some real old school hack through 40 enemies shit. Because the cutscenes,
and also it's got the shittest open world ever.
Yeah, the open world is not great. Like, this was back in the days when everything needed to have an open world, except maybe it didn't. I think a previous version of me would have defended that open world. I'm not going to do that now. No. I love this game. Like, realistically, it would be hard for me to give it more than like a 3 out of 5 now, because I think like the parts of it that were originally flaws have only aged. But it's still got a lot of heart, and like, I think there is something to it, you know, because like Travis is trying to like rise up this like assassination table, and he's getting really, really into killing and all this kind of stuff, and it's like handled in the most kind of schmaltzy fucking someone who really likes Quentin Tarantino style ways. But you start to see how killing has kind of really negatively affected the lives of the other assassins. And then you get to someone like Bad Girl, who is literally a girl with a baseball bat sitting at the bottom of a conveyor belt as a bunch of gimps like make their way down towards her, and she smashes their heads with the baseball bat. They fall into a pile of dead bodies, and the next one comes down and she does the same. That's her entire existence. That's the kind of shit the game does, and I don't know that it has anything super deep to say, but there is a real like grindhouse appeal to it that I do kind of just really enjoy.
It's got some original characters, that's for sure.
It does. Yeah. And you know, Bad Girl is one of those characters, like, you still see people cosplay her every now and then, and like Shinobu as well.
Shinobu's great.
It's got some really iconic designs.
I'm replaying this through the second one. That game is way quicker and optimized, but I do miss some aspects from the original game. Like, you know, the way in between the assassin fights you had to grind money. You don't have to do that anymore in No More Heroes 2. So, and because there's no overworld, you're just going through more menus. And I do like the stuff in No More Heroes 1 where before you do a fight, you get the phone call and you get your percentage. And when you walk in the door, it has like the robot voice saying the name of who you're going to fight. But in No More Heroes 2, you don't find out the assassin's name until after you beat them. It doesn't feel like they have that introduction anymore.
Yeah, because when you just see the silhouette and like, bad girl, you're like, oh shit, and you get a little voice line from them.
Yeah, it sets it up. But I do appreciate the optimization, but it's too optimized. And I do miss some of the jank.
You gonna get No More Heroes 3?
I will, but not right away. But I'm absolutely getting it.
Yeah, by the time people have heard this podcast, No More Heroes 3 is out.
All three of us
opinion about it, but you're not going to find out till 2 weeks.
All three of us love it. Isn't that right, Niamh?
Game of the year?
Never played one.
Game of the year.
Game of the year.
Yes! Can't go back now. Niamh. How are you feeling about 12 minutes?
It will be the second best time looping game I play this year.
That is a specific comment.
That's like the only positive thing you got.
Yeah, I don't know. This is an Annapurna game that has... I don't know, people were anticipating this because it has a big kind of voice cast. It's Daisy Ridley, James McAvoy, and Willem Dafoe.
I think it's also been in production for fucking forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Like 8 or 9 years or something.
And it has a different type of... It has a top-down perspective, like a real deep top-down.
It's a look.
Yeah, it looks... It was a really good trailer for what I saw. It looks unique.
Yeah. And like it's a guy stuck in a time loop, and I like the idea of time loop games. Turns out they're pretty fun.
What's the other one?
The Forgotten City.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I really like that. The more I think about it, the more I'm left sitting with the Forgotten City. I'm kind of like, yeah, that was great. But with 12 minutes...
So I heard Jeff Gerstmann had a really good line about 12 minutes. There's two kinds of people who like 12 minutes and people who have beaten 12 minutes.
So I've beaten 12 minutes. I beat it in one sitting, and I thought it was a bit strange because the reviews I read beforehand said it was around 7 to 8 hours long, and I was really like, oh god, a Groundhog Day that's 8 hours long sounds really fucking boring, to be honest. Like, the Forgotten City was a tight, 4 hours, and that was me getting the platinum. So I was really not looking forward to it being long, but I finished it in just under 4, so I think it kind of really depends.
Maybe you're just too big brain gamer, Niamh.
My brain just too huge.
That's what I've always said.
Big gamer.
I think if you kind of know what to look out for, I felt like I kind of knew where it was going.
You gave me 2 tips before I started, and I feel like that cut probably 40 minutes off me. But yeah,
here's my tip. You can reset the time loop by walking outside the door, so you don't have to wait it out the 12 minutes, because I think it's 10 real life minutes is how each loop
You can
happens.
go to bed to skip things or go to the closet to skip things, but...
You play as a guy, and the game opens up, and the first thing you see is the shining carpet on the floor. The first thing you see is you click on the Saul Bass looking icon art.
Oh, cool, yeah.
And then
someone went to film
game.
school.
Yeah, then you get into the game, and it's the shining carpet on the ground.
That did not endear me because immediately I just feel an elbow in my ribs and someone going and it's like don't fucking do
Yes, I've been to the cinema.
Yeah.
I know what a motion picture is.
And it's just you have this lovely little area. Do your own iconic carpet. Patterns are fun.
You can sell it as a pattern on Fangamer.
Yeah, there you go.
Make socks. They'd love that shit.
Oh
It's
man.
just, you have
I would get some shining socks.
Yeah.
There could be Minion socks. I was just going to say the shining carpet is in the Minions movie now. It's in Toy Story
Minions
3.
movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in fucking everything.
No,
let it go, guys.
I saw Ready Player 2, Niamh, or 1, or whatever the fucking...
A few years ago, my parents recarpeted the upstairs of the house, and they used the shining carpet.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Really? They know?
No, I told my dad.
That's
okay.
That is
really
so
funny.
much better.
Yeah.
Like that's brilliant.
And I was like, you know that's the carpet from The Shining, and my dad was like, no, it's not. And I showed him, and it's the same pattern, just in a different color palette. And he was like, for fuck's sake.
That's great.
I will put up a picture on social media.
Please do.
So yeah, you start off this guy and he is going to his apartment. It's very hard not to talk about this game without spoiling it because it's like a time loop.
It's really story dependent.
Yeah, it's a story-based game. But you come into the apartment and you meet your wife, who is only ever identified as wife. I found this annoying, even though the other character that comes into it is a cop who knocks on the door a few minutes later and is only ever identified as cop. But he doesn't know who the cop is, so that's fine. He knows his wife's fucking name. But a cop comes and he basically very quickly puts the couple on the floor and ties them up, and things go south, and you end up knocked out, and then you relive the day. And it's basically you as this guy trying to figure out why you're looping, how to stop it, trying to figure out how to tell your wife that you're in a loop, so she's on board with you, and trying to figure out how to stop this cop from killing both you and your wife, kind of thing. The puzzles are simplistic but obtuse. So there's very few objects in the room, so you know these objects are what you're going to need. So you go into the first room is basically the kitchen come living room. They don't have a TV. It's kind of weird. They drink, there's 2 mugs and they drink water from mugs, which I thought was like, just use a glass. Like
that really feels like when you go to someone's house in college, you go to a student house, and they have 2 glasses and they're for the people who live in the house, so you get a fucking mug.
Who serves water in a mug?
Sometimes
anyway?
I run out of glasses and I don't want to wash anything and I use a mug.
Yeah, but you're also like, this feels weird.
Yeah,
like
it's not a normal thing to do. She's just like,
pour me a mug of water, honey. It's like
cold water doesn't taste the same out of a mug.
So there's 2 mugs in the room. In the other room, there's a bottle of pills. Like 1 and 2 together, you figure it out, kind of thing. And so the puzzles are like that. But what's kind of frustrating about the puzzles is it's like kind of you're just clicking around the room a lot of the times to find the missing thing you just have not tried yet, kind of thing, to push things forward. And because that loop ends up feeling shorter and shorter each time, and a lot of that loop is the dialogue with the stupid cop, that like you don't have a lot of time to do shit. So doing pixel hunting in a time sensitive manner gets super, super frustrating. So like you kind of know all the stuff you've to work with. It's just trying to figure out what way to order them in a time limit, with very long cutscenes and very long stuff that is not skippable. Like you can skip through a lot of text later on, but like for the first bits you really can't because you want to find out the information. And
sometimes it's like you're not even sure what information you're looking for.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, okay, I'm gonna go right, and like it'll be like the last sentence of like a couple of minute sequence that you need, and it's like, oh, okay.
Does this game give you anything upon failing a time loop? Or is it just information you've gathered in real life?
Information, yeah, it's just information. It's not like the Forgotten City where if you like steal money, it's in your inventory here. If you take an object, it's in your inventory. With this, you don't keep anything, only your memories of being there. But like you have figured out how to quickly get your wife on your side.
Yeah.
So, for example, you need to explain you're in a time loop. The first time you do that, you have to be like, I'm going to be able to tell when the lightning strikes, and I'm going to be able to tell when the song comes on, and I'm going to be able to tell what's here and here and here. By the time you have all that done, you can only have to show her one thing and she'll believe you, instead of going through the checklist of all like 4 or 5 to get to that point.
That's fair.
So there's a few things that kind of cut it down. The whole thing hinges on its narrative. And there was a point with it where I was like, oh my God, I know where this is going. And I shouted up to my girlfriend. I was like, Rebecca, I think it's about X thing. And she was like, ew.
Okay, because like with me, like I've played, I'd say maybe 40 minutes of it. And I'm kind of like, this story is going to have to veer drastically to keep going. Because what I know is so simple. And I know there's more to it. But I'm like, I can't see where this is going, and that makes me a bit worried.
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. It's like, it feels like both shocking, but also like kind of a cop-out, like kind of like, oh, okay. And it's like, why would this situation trigger a time loop? Like, why are you in this situation at all? Like if it's this kind of near personal story, it kind of doesn't really feed back into itself. It reminded me of a really bad Old Boy.
Gotcha.
Oh no.
Yeah. I see where the shitty tropes are kicking in now.
Yeah.
I can't wait to play this game and make up a version of this game and then play it like real mad and then just be disappointed still.
It's kind of like, I think they're trying to do something, but it doesn't have any of the weight that it should have for something like that.
Yeah, I haven't played a lot of it. I would say, don't think the writing is super.
No, and I feel like the dialogue, even though they hired Daisy Ridley and James McAvoy and Willem Dafoe,
they're all great actors.
Like, performance is pretty good, but the conversation between Daisy Ridley's character and James McAvoy's character, it sounds like they were never in the same room doing recording.
Yeah, it also, like, I feel like they really wanted a very small amount of dialogue to build up a connection between these two characters, but it really comes to me across that kind of, like, quirky post-Scrubs dialogue that was so... Like you get home and your wife's like, best night ever. Guess who has 2 thumbs and made dessert? And it's like...
Who's going to enjoy this dessert with a nice mug of cold water? And like, I don't know, there's something about it, like, and I'm trying not to spoil things and talk about this. You kind of end up just beating and abusing your wife in multiple different ways.
I'm 40 minutes in. I have hurt that woman in several different ways.
Are you just like coercing and manipulating her into scenarios?
Yeah, all the time. Like, all the time.
But then, like,
because she's the only other person there.
There's also that shot where you're staring out the closet and you're seeing and you're just getting this like crazy ass shot.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's framed perfectly and it's like,
here's a crazy ass shot, and here's her getting like kicked in the ribs a bunch of times, and you're kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I feel like it has a kind of...
Sounds like it's got some Joss Whedon vibes.
Wow.
It kind of has a weird tone problem because it's trying to tell a story about this guy's romance and love, but the way we're getting there is by the wife being kind of beaten a bunch.
And like his dialogue line when like the first time she died for me, he just goes, "Oh God."
Yeah.
Oh God.
Is he not sad?
He got sad weird. like in three, but like for a while it was just like they asked him to just do a couple of random "oh gods" because he's really like, "Oh God, whoa God." It's like, dude, your fucking wife's dead.
Yeah.
You're not crying? I'd be sad.
And it's just like, there's weird stuff like that as well. Like when the cop first comes in and ties her up, like I was trying to click on stuff to see what I could do, and he was basically like, sir, stop. And like she's just been pushed to the ground, and it's just like,
and like even when the cop comes in and like grabs her arm and twists it, he's kind of just standing there being like, "Oh, looks like we got a little bit of a sticky situation." It's like, dude.
The animation is very limited, and it's like very clear that they didn't want to show any of the characters' faces, so they're always obscured. It kind of becomes a stylistic thing.
How hard is it to read the silhouettes if they're from like an aerial view?
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Like visually, this game is totally fine.
Okay, because like it would be hard to frame some of that stuff.
Totally,
it is, but it's like it's a grand total of 4 rooms that are completely set up for this, and
like that concept of it, I do love. Like I love the concept of, and like I know you really couldn't. It's a real stretch to call this an open world, but I do love, here is a tiny environment and we have thought about every part of it, and like that's interesting. Like personally, and again I haven't played it, I think the game's mechanically interesting. I do not have great faith in it so far for it to tell me like a compelling story, and it's also like it is a bit fucking weird, like the entire premise of a game being a cop coming into your home and arresting you given the last the last just history of humanity, but especially like the last year and a half and all that kind of stuff. I find that aspect of it super uncomfortable, and I appreciate that like, the game was in development long before that, but I mean still, it's, to me, to touch something like that now, you would have to fucking nail it, and from everything I'm hearing, they do not. But I'm gonna beat it. Like I'm sure I am going to beat this game.
Has the game got multiple endings, or does it have like dialogue options that you'll never see?
It has to me it has one ending, but from that one ending you can do 3 branching paths and just get a different kind of snippeting ending. So like you basically at the end you're given a question and you can answer it in 2 ways, and those are the two main endings. Then there's one like secret ending where you don't pick those answers and you pick something else kind of thing. But it's all, you get to the one point and you can go back to that point to play all the other ones out.
The way I've heard some people talk about it is nearly like some people kind of hit a bit of ambiguity about whether they've actually beaten the game or not. Did you feel that way?
No, because I got the good ending first. Because I was like, ooh, I'm not clicking on either of these. So I'm going to click something else. And just pure luck, I was clicking around the room and clicked on something else that triggered the better ending.
Sweet.
I know. Better ending.
Yeah. She's doing quotation fingers.
Yeah. I don't know. I did not like the story of this. I thought the path to get to it was kind of obtuse and silly. Like, there's some weird dialogue in this game. There's a moment where you find out there's like, I don't know. There's a really outdated term for like a person born out of wedlock that's just used a lot in a really weird way that I was kind of like, why? Huh. It's just like I feel like it's, for someone they think there's a lot going on here, but it's super surfacey, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't feel compelled by it. I didn't feel like engaged by it. I just kind of felt this is a weird little curiosity, like looking into a little box and playing with these sick little characters.
And like, not trying to rag on it too much, I really didn't feel like the celebrity voice acting really added much to it at all. Like, it feels like a marketing point. I would like,
oh, absolutely.
Like, and like, I like all those actors. I'm sure James McAvoy is someone I've seen in something. But
Charles Xavier.
Charles. Sorry.
He's Charles Xavier in the X-Men prequels.
Star Trek dude. And he like, I'm sure that there.
He's
like,
in Split.
He's the dude in Split.
He's the beast. He goes on all fours. He's real fast.
Okay, now you're unselling me on him. But
he bulked up for that role.
He did the fucking little kid, and he has the stupid lisp. That's such a shit movie.
It is. It's a terrible film.
But yeah, like, I don't know. I don't like stunt casting, and I know they're all actors and like good actors, but I don't know. To me, they sound like good actors who kind of didn't really give a shit.
But this is what it's always going to be like when you have a like name. Like, some people will give a shit and do an amazing performance anyway. But like, these aren't voice actors; they're actors. And I think Annapurna's big focus on using name actors that you know is kind of a detriment to them, because I think you're going to get the best vocal performance from people who are trained to give vocal performance, not Daisy
think you're
doing
gonna
it
get
every weekend.
Yeah, like if you get a motion capture or voice actor, you're going to get different inflections and strains because they know to do that, but they're just going to think it's like a theater. I don't know.
Yeah. I also think, like, I would rather have someone who sees it as their big break as opposed to, you know, Paul Giamatti, who probably doesn't remember that he did it. You know,
I like Paul Giamatti.
Me too.
He's got a great voice.
He's got a great voice and great look.
It's me, Paul Giamatti. I was the Rhino. Do you remember, kids? Spider-Man fought me. I was in a Rhino mech.
Let's just stay with this for a little bit.
Have you seen the film Sideways? It's me and the Sandman. We're drinking wine. We're up in Napa Valley, drinking the red stuff. We're gonna get married. Paul Giamatti, the big fat liar. Malcolm in the Middle and Amanda Bynes. They're gonna get revenge on me. They're gonna turn me blue in my swimming pool. That's a very important film.
Very important.
I saw that in the cinema, and I sat upright in my seat. It's a blessing.
Which is better, that or Agent Cody Banks?
Big Fat Liar is way better than Agent Cody Banks.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Agent Cody Banks can go fuck himself.
Oh, Bryan!
No, fuck him.
Okay, alright.
No. Agent Cody Banks' Mission to London, I think that's what's called the sequel, has Hannah from S Club 7, and she's great in it. Glad to see her in a film again. Because the S Club movie wasn't.
They're still going, aren't they?
No,
I think they're doing like reunion tour shit.
Really?
They do reunion tours, but it's very rarely all 7 of them are there.
The last time was like Bradley didn't come back or something.
Yeah, and Joe got in trouble because of Big Brother, and I don't think anyone wants her around right now. Please.
Which big was she?
The celebrity Big Brother.
And she she bullied the Indian girl.
Yeah. With Jay Goody and that awful crowd.
Jesus.
That really, God, different times.
Yeah. 12 minutes, everybody.
And Paul Giamatti for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would not buy this game. It was on Game Pass.
Again? Game Pass?
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god. And it's like the shit coming to Game Pass now. Like, you have Back for Blood, Origami 2. That's a game for John.
You've got a game officially releasing on it. John, you want to talk about this other game? that you played a smidge of here?
Oh, I played a smidge of Psychonauts 2.
And you played it on your Xbox using the pass, didn't you?
Yep.
There you go.
There you go. That game seems real cool. Like, it's a Double Fine game. If you don't like Double Fine humor, probably not going to like this. I like it fine.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with, and I literally just played it because I wanted to check it out just a little bit for this podcast. A lot of imagination and a lot of production is in that first 30 minutes in a way I found kind of shocking. Like the whole opening intro / like sort of tutorial, like tutorial light, plays with a lot of impossible space. It plays with a lot of really weird stuff. The first dungeon seems to be a dentist dungeon, and so like,
hell yeah,
all the doors are like teeth you have to like rip open with your, and like it's really quite grotesque and cool. I'm looking forward to playing more of this. I think it's actually going to be really cool, and like if the reviews are to go by, people are actually fucking into it, which is great because it's been coming out for
10 years.
Yeah, it really feels like one of those sequels where it was like, it's still in development.
Yeah, I'll talk more about this next time, but like there's an interesting notice about how like they're very upfront in being like, hey, this game portrays like anxiety, depression, mental illness, addiction, all this kind of stuff, and it says it does it in a lighthearted way, but not in a way that it's ever intended to ridicule them. And they say that ultimately they want this to be a game about kind of like healing and stuff, and you know, that's a pretty noble mission statement, and I really hope they hit it, because I think, yeah, like I would love to see more discussion about that stuff, and especially if it's handled well. And I don't know if they'll hit it, but I really hope they do. Yeah, that's about all I can say about that. Bryan, tell us about WarioWare.
Oh yeah, the WarioWare Get It Together demo. I played this demo. I'm very glad they put it out. I do appreciate demos for games I'm curious about, because sometimes it sells you on a game, and sometimes it kind of tells you on a game. And with this told me I don't need to pay €50 for this game, because it's a little too simple.
You're so shocked.
I'm just like, I feel like you've been like looking forward to a Warrior game for like ever, and like.
Well, I think.
What?
Bryan, you do love WarioWare games, but you love Wario Land games.
Oh yeah, I love Wario platformers. Yeah. Like, this is absolutely like a WarioWare micro game mania bonanza, but I loved WarioWare Gold. I love what they did with it.
Yes, but you bought and played like Yoshi's Yarn Adventure. Like, you've like played some like really boring shit. Like, yeah. And you like Wario.
Well, see, I bought the Yoshi game because it came with a plush amiibo.
Fair.
This ain't coming with no WarioWare amiibo. And like the WarioWare amiibo that they have, I don't like it because it's got that stupid fucking like weird like transparent shoe cast on him. I don't want that shit. And I've got the other Wario amiibo, so it's okay.
Okay.
But I played through this demo, and it is a good demo, but it kind of lets you know that like this ain't a full price game. Like they shouldn't be charging £50 for this. It should be 25-30, because it's very simple. It kind of feels like a launch title more than, you know, a game that's several years into a system. But the mini games are good, and the way it works this time around is that you pick several members from the WarioWare gang, and you unlock them as you play, and they all have different movements and abilities, but you're steering or navigating them through this 3-second micro games. And some of them control like platformer characters, and some of them control, I guess, like chameleons, where they like, or a frog, where they extend like a part of their body and then go to that part.
Yeah, well, okay.
And then some of them shoot projectiles and don't move at all. And so part of it is that you need to complete the micro game, but part of it is that you're steering the micro game differently than you previously did. So that kind of
that does sound kind of fascinating.
It is. And you will mess it up the first couple of times, and you'll only get like, you know, like 10 in a row, but then after you kind of get used to the characters and their strengths and weaknesses and what they can do and what they can't do, it's very easy then to get into like, you know, 30 game combos. And the more characters you unlock, the more interesting it is. I do get the feeling that you're going to get to a point with some of the characters where they're just going to be like palette swaps of a previous character. Or you're just going to be like, oh, this is just the same as this other character with like a slight tweak.
What are the parts of it that kind of made you feel like this ain't for me? Or like not at full price at least?
It's a Game Boy Advance game. Just like, or like I've played a couple of games on the Switch that are just Game Boy games, but with a new coat of paint. But like, in terms of what it's going for and the like the length you're playing, it just doesn't feel like it's worth the money.
Okay, that's disappointing. I'm really intrigued by the premise, but I also can't feel like we've lost some of the WarioWare purity, like just that madness.
Yeah, this definitely doesn't feel as mad. It feels very polished, but like it still did have some weirdness to it. Like there's one where you have to pluck out loads of hairs out of a sexy statue, and then he does a sexy pose, and
that's pretty good.
Like I love that energy. I want more of that, and I'm sure there's going to be some micro games where you have no idea what's going on, and then you solve it, and you don't know what to do, so you make a weird noise. They're always my favorite, but I will eventually get this game. It's just I'm not going to get it right away. I was going to get it in September, but I'm going to hold off, I'd say.
I will probably give it a look at some point. Is the demo time really limited?
No, and it's a really good demo. Okay. It's a solid demo. Like they do a good sales pitch. It's just, unfortunately, it didn't get me as hype as I was. Then I played a tiny bit of another game.
Yeah, tell me about this, because I looked it up and I went, well, that's for Niamh.
Yeah, okay, so this is Alba, a wildlife adventure, and this is, I guess I would put it in the genre of games that generally come from Japan, where childhood summer sims.
Oh, sure.
You are a kid, age between 10 and 12, and it's the summertime, and you are enjoying yourself. And so you play a little girl called Alba, and she is visiting her grandparents who live on a Mediterranean island. I don't know if it specifies what island, but it really feels like, as someone who's been to holidays in south of Spain and like around Mediterranean islands, like off Ibiza and in the Adriatic Sea and all that, like it definitely nails that vibe. And it's made by the company that did Monument Valley.
Oh, cute.
I can't remember the name of that company, but they're a tech company that have a games division within it, which is kind of interesting. And so they don't put out, and so they put out loads of apps. It's just sometimes the apps are games. Maybe are you looking up the name of the studio?
Sure am.
But this really nails the feeling of like you're a kid on holidays, and the goal of this game is that you get your grandpa's camera and
Us two games,
and like the visuals are so charming. But you're playing a little girl called Alba, and you have your grandpa's camera, and you're going around taking photos of animals, and also cleaning up the beach, because sometimes the birds are caught in the like 6-pack plastic ring.
Oh.
And at the very beginning, there's a beach dolphin that you need to get get the dolphin.
Shut up! I'm sorry.
You having too much of a good time, John?
I accidentally opened the Gamescom trailer. I'm so sorry, Brian. Please continue. I was trying to look up your game.
So, like, is there a bit of a so there's a photography element where you're going around with the camera. Do you get to keep those photos? Do they save to anywhere, or do you just take the shot and they're gone?
This has been out for a little bit, hasn't it?
I think it came out on Apple last year, but it's on the Switch now. But I'm actually playing it on Apple Arcade, just because I'm trying out that subscription for a bit.
You should try Fantasian.
Yeah, because Part 2 just came out as well. It's kind of wild. I haven't checked the photo album yet and whether it saves it locally, but like it's easy enough to just screenshot that stuff within the phone. But yeah, it does a pretty good, fake in-game camera. Like I played a bit of Umurangi Generation as well on the Switch. I like it. It's got a similar vibe to that. It's just this one is, it's not politically motivated. It's just like it's a cute childhood summer game.
Cleaning up the sea.
Oh yeah.
It's environmentally friendly.
It is. It's got some messages, but
does it give
it's
you
not
any
as
animal facts?
It does.
Okay, great.
Grandpa wants to make like the first thing I was like, oh my god, he's going this. Grandpa wants you to take photos of like, I don't know, I think it's like 10 different kinds of birds. Yeah. And he's not going to be happy if you take photos of like 9 birds and then one of the birds is the same as you. They have to be 10 different birds. And he'll talk about like, oh, it's very unusual for them to be there this season, or it seems like they're earlier this month or this year.
Oh, that's super cute. I saw like a screenshot of a heron and I was just like, yeah, because I love herons.
Yeah.
We have a whole pile of city herons in Dublin who just hang around.
There's one who hangs out in the river in our complex.
There is, yeah, because there's that shallow part. Looking. They're huge. Yeah, they really love the canals that we have both.
They're beautiful.
But the game takes place over like, I think it's 6 or 7 days, and you have missions for each day, and so I think you can go back and do certain days to like 100% the game, But like the game has like, I think it's like 2 or 3 hours to beat the game, but then to complete it would be like, you know, I'd say 5 or 6 hours. But it definitely nails the feeling of just like just being a kid on summer holidays and visiting an island. And it's cool because like there's other kids on the island and they only get to see you once a year, so it's nice to like, and so there's that.
That's such a wow. Even just that sentence gave me so much nostalgia for like going to that one holiday town and being like, oh wow, it's you from last year, but you're taller now.
Yeah, they actually say that line. It's super relatable, which I really appreciate, and just the fact that it's a very European game as well, which I love. I love Mediterranean games.
Sounds good, Bryan.
So it's a charming time. I enjoy it more in Chicory.
Hey, where did you land on Chicory?
I got halfway through the game and I was like, cool. And that was a month ago.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel like I don't need to play Chicory.
I don't think you'd like Chicory. Like I think
you'd play Alba. It's way better.
Niamh, you'd like the drawings from Chicory. Like you really would.
Oh yeah, it's I think the art department is 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Oh, also I dropped Death's Door. I was too nice about that game. It's just giving you shit you already know. There. That's it. I don't think it's that good.
Games are dumb.
Yeah, games are terrible.
I'm super interested about our game of the year because I don't know what.
It's No More Heroes 3, unfortunately.
Do you guys think we've played our game of the year?
I hope not, but maybe.
I think we have.
Yeah, Resident Evil 8, you know.
Mm-hmm. Our number one game of the... Chicory?
You motherfucker, how the fuck did you get it?
12 minutes, you little fucking scamp you got in there.
Look, I just really liked it. Turns out I think it's the greatest game ever made. I'll die on that hill. I'll defend that shit to the end of times.
Oh, man.
Do I talk about some video game news that's really, like, important?
Yeah.
Quicktime Events.
Kazuma Kiryu is rolling into Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania.
Brilliant. I thought it was very cool that Nagoshi, the creator of Super Monkey Ball, has gone full circle or full ball. And now Kiryu from Yakuza is hanging out with the monkeys.
I love the model of Kiryu. His face is very angry and very long. It's very cute.
I'm just glad that we finally get the Kiryu guest character we've always wanted.
He's not showing up in Smash, that's for sure.
Nope.
But hey, Sega's alright when it wants to be.
Yeah.
I saw the thing about Sonic Colors and the physical edition is delayed in Europe indefinitely or something like that.
Oh dear.
But also that's because of COVID, probably.
Okay, this is a weird one. No More Heroes 3 review embargo up 9 hours after the game releases.
That's kind of dodge.
That's fucking shitty. That is really, really shitty. And it sucks because, like, I feel like there is currently a lot of good faith out there for No More Heroes 3. Like, people are pumped and idiots like me are going to buy that game. It doesn't matter if it bombs and gets 0 out of 10. Like, we'll buy it. And that's who you're selling this game to. But I feel like this shows such a lack of confidence in that game. And,
especially from Nintendo, who love doing, like, 2-week embargo. Like the game is out, or the review is out 2 weeks before the game is out.
I know Travis Strikes Again got panned pretty hard critically, and like I liked that game, but like it got shit all over critically. But I still, as someone who loves No More Heroes, that leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. Like, don't do that.
Yeah, it really sucks. I think like reviews, have an important function to inform the buyer of a lot of stuff, and doing this is just shitty.
It's a pretty transparent move to like mislead the public, and it shows a lack of faith in your game. And I hope that lack of faith is misplaced, and I hope this is just some stupid publisher bullshit. But it is frustrating to see. There's other news in video games, but honestly, it's all just worse ongoing versions of stories we've covered before. So let's say we move on to emails.
I'm so excited for emails this week. All right, we got some very, very good emails for this bi-week's episode.
That's good, because up until now, PU is all I gotta say.
I know I was being so mean, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta give some tough love, because You I told people I was disappointed, but you know what? Now I'm impressed.
You know what happens when you put coal under pressure? You get diamonds.
Yeah, I guess it. Yeah. If you were to send us an email, we have an email address.
We have recently registered for an email address. So now the emails actually go somewhere.
Niamh, do you want to say it this time?
Yeah, it's let's fight a boss at gmail.com.
That's it.
That was great.
Ask let's fight a boss at gmail.com.
One thing I really love is that we've been doing this podcast for 6 years, and whenever Niamh has to say the email address, she looks at me kind of like with this kind of lost puppy expression as she says the perfectly correct email address, but she's still just not quite.
I don't know. Why do you keep asking me that?
Because it's really funny.
It is funny to put you on the spot, Niamh.
So sometimes you say,
why don't people know it?
So, okay, just so we're clear, Niamh, your logic here is that if someone has been listening to this podcast for any amount of time, they should know the email address.
They should know it.
Okay, whereas you have been literally on every episode of this podcast.
It's ask let's find a boss at gmail.com. Well, we got Bryan, serve us up a big fat email.
Okay, we got this chronic fatty to smoke a blunt off of. This is from, they didn't have their name, so their username is Pose Look. What's you guys' favorite game visually? And they've said, no one asked for it, but their favorite games visually are Final Fantasy IX and Nier Automata. So I was going to divide this into 2D and 3D games. Is that okay?
That's
or
okay.
like to me in my mind, I'm thinking 2D, 3D. Okay, so 2D games for me, my favorite games visually are probably either Yoshi's Island on the SNES.
That game is shit.
But visually,
just like a fucking nightmare.
She doesn't like the baby. Yeah, the baby game.
Like the most stressful nightmare hell game ever.
You know, a lot of people feel that way.
Oh yeah, no, like people hate that baby.
Yeah.
I love that baby so much. It's way better than regular Mario. Regular Mario can go fuck himself.
Bryan!
That baby Mario is way better. Little baby. And Hyper Light Drifter is my other favorite 2D looking game.
That's a good choice.
That's a handsome game. From 3D side, I love Link's Awakening remake. I love how it looks like a toy. I just love the...
Also a shit game, Bryan.
Oh yeah, very disappointing. I love it.
I know you like that game, don't you?
I do. I just have mixed feelings on it. Persona 5's visuals will always just win me over. Like I will look over so many flaws of that game because I'm like, well, the UI is kind of cool.
I love the menus. I hate the on-screen HUD.
The way they do the cell shading, if you look at it on certain high definition TVs, it does that like diagonal flicker.
Oh, I know the one.
That really bothers me, but you know, there you go. You just gotta smooth it out.
What about you, Niamh?
I'm like drawing a blank. I'm like, I've never played a video game.
Bloodborne looks alright, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You love how Red Dead looks.
Yeah. Red Dead's
I do, but
Red Dead's
I love that Red Dead is like a living, breathing world. But I don't know if it's like an aesthetic that I enjoy because it's like realism.
I get you
what I mean?
100%.
But I do like being at the lake and seeing the sunset and like, you know, the horse being silhouetted against the sky. Like it's a very pretty. Yeah, I guess honestly, yeah.
Yeah, it counts.
Maybe.
Especially when you're like thinking the game without sound. Like in photo mode, you're not doing the sound. You're just thinking about the visuals only.
Stylistically, though, I think I'm like maybe more drawn. Like the first thing that pops into my mind, even though I didn't like love this game itself, was Octopath Traveler. I really liked that. Like it looked like a pop-up cutout.
It looks amazing.
I think get ready for a lot of games that look like that.
Oh god, yeah, I know. I follow some indie devs and they were just like, that look, that's what I do now.
Yeah, and even like the new Dragon Quest looks like that. There's the new Suikoden, or it's not new Suikoden, it's from the people who made Suikoden. Looks like that. I'm like, let's hope they do something cool with it. But
yeah,
you've got the new one, Project Triangle Strategy, that's doing the same thing.
I actually quite liked how that looked.
It looks great
as well. And I have always a soft spot for Bravely Default and the dress spheres that like just little outfits on little bean people.
The little outfits are great.
Very, very cute.
Yeah, totally. For 2D, Street Fighter Alpha 3 is a big one for me. I think that's just... And like every part of Street Fighter Alpha 3, the menus, the win illustrations, the character sprites, the animations.
I love Zangief's design for that game and how he's like mid shit.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
Totally. I'd say Hyper Light Drifter as well is a big one. I think like Mother 3 doesn't have the craziest animation, but I just fucking love the colors of that game.
Yeah,
like
so
I think
charming.
it is. They're just that game. I feel so much of that game is just the appeal of that world and the way that world is conveyed visually. It's really simple, but it's so effective. If I didn't say Third Strike, Strive is kind of up there for me.
Yeah, Stripe counts.
Yeah, I'd like more stage variety, but I think just you can't really argue with those character models. In terms of 3D, I do really love the look of Automata. I think that's a beautiful looking game. I love the look of Silent Hill 3 on the PlayStation 2. If you put that game in like if you put an upscaled version of that game in an emulator, genuinely shocking how well it holds up. And I think that's down to like the craft of it. It was really, really, really well made. And I think while like there's definitely parts of it that look old, the detail in how it all comes together is like, I remember this is one building where like it has this glowing pink sign just on the wall, and if you walk by it, the lighting spills onto Heather, and it's so pretty, and like for that era, incredible.
Yeah, Street Fighter X versus X-Men. I think those are my favorite like drawings of some of the X-Men characters.
Cyclops
They're
looks
so
so fucking
beautiful.
good. Yeah.
Like just big chunky Wolverine. Like when I think of Wolverine in my head, I think of those drawings. Despite reading all the comics
like,
forever.
It's big
it's
chunky
that.
Wolverine, but he's also like that size.
Yeah,
and
the
it's
squat.
perfect. Yeah,
It's
and then like
perfect.
you see him next to Juggernaut, and Juggernaut's literally half the screen.
Yeah.
And Magneto looks cool, and just like I love those sprites. I really like Shadow of the Colossus, but the PlayStation 2 version, the remake is like pretty because that's like they did a lot of beautiful work on it. But there's something about the PlayStation 2 version that's
it
just
still
so...
has the atmosphere.
I think there's a
atmospheric.
magic to seeing shit in its original hardware,
Yeah.
and like because a lot of those visual decisions are going to be born out of those limitations.
Yeah, I'm still like that with Mario 64. Like that is a polygonal game, but every single triangle in that game is beautiful.
I agree with you. And like even some of the shit they were doing with weird reflective stuff like
Yeah.
Metal Mario.
Oh yeah.
That shit's fucking cool.
And I like some of the later enemies are just weird robots, but they're just like it's just they're trying a bunch of geometry and it's trying to attack you, and that's funny.
Yeah.
Is there anything on the PS5 that's like stands out to you besides Strive, or like is there anything else that
I mean, I like the main character models of Remake 7. But like I wouldn't say I think that's an especially good looking game because parts of it
serviceable
are
for the
kind of
most part?
garbage,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't played a lot on the PS5 that really jumps out at me. Final Fantasy Origins demo.
I hate how that looks.
Yeah, I know. It's like a nightmare. But there's something so PlayStation 2 charming about it. There's so many skulls and so many doors.
A lot of PC 98 shit just looks so beautiful.
It does. Absolutely. Okay, thank you, Pose Look. Alright. Niamh, do you want to read one, or will I keep going? How do you feel?
I'll read one. Will I read the next one from
Yeah, the next one down below.
Carl?
Yeah.
This is titled Survival of the Fittest. 3 scenarios. Who lives the longest in each and in order? The Last of Us, Kaji Ultimate Survivor, Stuck in a Normal Ass Forest.
So, oh my god.
Love you guys. Thanks, Carl.
I think Niamh's gonna last the longest in The Last of Us.
Yeah, I think she has like a survivor mentality that we both lack, Bryan. We're both very soft in our own ways.
I need my duvet.
Yeah.
I would bite the fingers off a person.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, so who goes before? So for me and you, John, and The Last of Us, who's not The Last of Us? Because I think either one of us would just fuck up and get like a tetanus.
If we run
infection.
into the infected Bryan, I think I have a bit of a better chance of outlasting you. If we run into scary humans, I think you have a much better chance of outlasting me. I think you could talk your way out of that scenario.
I think that's fair. Okay, Kaiji Ultimate Survivor, which is a game of death.
I think Bryan would
Bryan.
take the gold in
I'm
this.
just an absolute piece of shit. John's familiar with the source material, so you might have an edge, or maybe
Yeah.
you'd overthink it and not have an edge.
And I'll just
either.
be like, why can't I be in Kakagurui instead? Because there's girls there.
Hey, there's a girl later in Kaiji.
Yeah, but it's all like triangle nose men.
She's pretty. there actually isn't any women for the first arc of Kaiji, and then they just like materialize in the world.
What do women look like in the Kaiji universe?
They look just like the men.
What like so in Kaiji is it's all games of chance? Can people like propose any game, or is it all just gambling?
So the idea is that you are in debt so heavily that this mysterious organization basically kidnaps you and forces you into these games of death, and they'll be like, here's $1 million. Like they'll give you $1 million. You have to walk out of tonight with $10 million, and whoever has $0 is $1 million more dollars in debt to us. And so here's the games we're going to play. This is a really fucked up version of rock paper scissors. Here's literally just a game where you have to walk the plank, and they spend 3 episodes walking along a really long plank, and it is the tensest shit in the fucking world. Kaiji is amazing. Everyone should watch Kaiji. It's such good television.
So they're all games of chance. So I think that
not chance. Okay. Like they're all rooted in some kind of like psychological, or like there's the rock paper scissors one. It is rock paper scissors, but it's like you have 3 cards. You have 3 rock, 3 paper, and 3 scissors, and the other person is able to keep track of which cards you've used. Okay. And then there's another meta layer on top of that, and so
it's very easy to win rock paper scissors once you know how to control the other person.
So like sometimes someone will know that the other person.
My mum taught me how to win.
Okay, I think we should play a game right now to decide who survives the Kajiverse.
How did your mom teach you how to win rock paper scissors, Brian?
Yeah, tell us your secret.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
It really, really upset me when I was younger, and then she explained it to me when I was a bit older, and I kind of understood. But
my mom gave me no life lessons for this.
One time, me and a guy played each other in rock paper scissors, and we drew 16 times in a row.
Wow, that's frustrating. Did you just punch him and end it at that?
I did. I broke his nose, and I was like, "That's what you get, Killian, you fucking piece of shit."
Okay, then there's the last one here.
No, we have to do it, Brian. We're not going on to it until we find out who
we're doing.
Wins.
Rock paper scissors.
Yeah, we're doing rock paper scissors.
Okay, so we go rock paper scissors, and then the hand comes out. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Rock paper scissors.
Oh.
So me and Brian had rock. John had scissors.
Okay, now it's you and me.
Okay.
Rock paper scissors. Niamh won?
Niamh won.
I had rock, Brian did
Niamh
scissors.
Wins. I guess Niamh wins Kaiji as well.
Kaiji.
Damn
Mom taught you nothing.
No, I'm gonna have to talk to my mom.
Stuck in a normal ass forest.
Should have done paper.
Me, I'd win.
Yeah.
I was a brownie and a guide. I know how to
no,
say
it
that.
counts.
That's it. We're done.
Camp.
And she wins a rock paper scissors as well. She's got it all.
I didn't survive anything. Not that I'm like disputing it, but will I read this next one?
Yes, please.
This one comes from Rowan. Which boss could you take in a one-on-one fight?
That's like the podcast.
Abby.
But like, that's like, let's fight a boss.
Let's fight a boss. Yeah.
Niamh, did you get it?
Did you say Abby, Niamh?
Well, yeah, I won the Last of Us universe. Just, you know.
Oh, no, Niamh, like, you survive in the Last of Us universe. Abby would beat the fucking shit out of you.
She would eat. She would drink you as a protein shake.
She would beat you into a tiny paste and then scrape you into a flask.
and then drink you as the shake, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. I don't know. Anyone Lara Croft could be, I guess.
Okay, let's read this email. Dearest Brian, Neil, and Ron.
Wait, no, we haven't answered the previous
one.
No.
This is the rest of the email.
Yeah.
She's read
Oh no.
You just read the subject.
As the podcast name suggests, you want to fight a boss. But which notorious game boss do you each want to take on in one-on-one fisticuffs? Final Destination, no items, no handicap. Reckon you can take Sephiroth? Or are we going to wuss out and go for something easy like King Bomb Bomb in Mario 64?
That guy's such a chump.
Much love, Rowan.
He's heavy though.
And also, you can't throw King Bob-omb off the battlefield hill. It has to be on the plateau.
Okay, I have a question about this. The subject line is, who do we think we could take? But the body of the email is, who do we want to fight? Because to me, those are two very different things.
That is true. There's
a
want and need
right.
there. Like, John needs to fight Bad Girl.
Oh, no,
But you want to lose the bad girl.
No, there's some people, and it's just like, I couldn't handle them in any capacity.
I'm really like that with Bayonetta, because sometimes I get scared thinking about her.
I think, like, would we be up to her knee?
Yeah.
Is that how?
Yeah.
Is that how we
She would take us
measure
and
up
put us in one of her holsters and just walk around with us there.
This is where I live now.
This is a tough one.
I'd love to fight Bowser Jr. just to like kill Bowser Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just fucking kill the kid. Sucks.
Oh, I'd pick Red from Pokemon in Silver, but before the Pokemon battle started, I just run up and punch him in the face. I'd be like, take that, you stupid kid.
Okay, in that case, I really want to fight Giovanni. I just think there'd be some satisfaction about taking on Giovanni.
How about you, Niamh?
I don't know. Who would I be?
Oh.
Who do I want to be? I would like to just Oryx the Taken King from Destiny.
Yeah.
All right.
He's very big. He's monstrous.
I'd like to personally die in the hands of Lady Maria. I'd be okay with that.
Oh yeah, Bryan.
Here I am. Do what you need.
Yeah. She does embrace you.
She does. That's the best part of that fight. She's a cool lady. I'd happily fight anyone in Bloodborne, and I'm cool either way if I win or lose. It'd be a real pleasure.
It was the experience, really.
Yeah. Do you want to do one more?
Yeah, there's some quick fire ones from Dino. We in the mood for some quick fire ones?
That might be Dino or Dino.
It's, well, whoever they are, they're the rootinest, tootinest, rapid fire pew pew questions. Dear Niamh, forgive the subject title, though I hope Bryan voiced it. Bryan, do you want to voice it? Do you want to maybe put a little Western spin on it?
The rootinest, tootinest, rapid fire pew pew questions.
There we go.
Dear Niamh, and Niamh. Sorry, I had a bit of moonshine in the back there. I can't do that. Someone else do it.
If you were some rapid fire questions for each of ye. If you were fighting in a game, what would be the name of your special? Or if you were in a fighting game, what would be the name of your specials?
My legs are stuck together with Brown.
Oh
Fat
my
Fanny Supreme.
Oh.
You like that one, right?
Oh, I love all those words together. Fat, Fanny, and Supreme. Oh, thanks, Niamh. That made my year. Brilliant, thank you.
No problem, right?
Okay, you're John.
I'm not
John, you're John.
following that. Come on. What am I going to say? Character you have drawn the most?
Kirby.
Chun-Li.
Lady Maria.
Okay, I'll do the next one. Only one cat can stay in your home. Garfield, Hobbs, Hello Kitty, or Puss in Boots.
Hello Kitty's a girl.
She is. She's
a tiny lady.
She's a human girl that is just portrayed that way. Hobbs, obviously. Hobbs is a fucking good laugh.
When I was a kid, I had a cat and I called him Puss in Boots. So him.
Like, is this like the Shrek Puss in Boots?
Yeah, I thought it was.
This is my childhood cat called Puss in Boots.
Oh.
It just happens that your childhood cat is in this
I would
email.
also take your childhood cat.
He was great. He was really fat.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what happened to that cat because he just disappeared one day. But in my older years, I can say that guy died of a fucking heart attack.
Badass.
I like how none of us picked Garfield.
No, fuck him. It's my lasagna. Would you rather be a judge on Hell's Kitchen, The Voice, America's Next Top Model, or So You Think You Can Dance?
Hell's Kitchen, so I can eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Literally. Yeah.
I want to be on America's Next Top Model. I need to stand next to Tyra. I need to know.
What am I gonna tell a model? You don't look that good, and then they'll be like him, and I'll be like.
Look, they managed to do it.
Well, the trick is you say what Tyra says, but just rephrase it.
Yeah, just say it like a little sterner.
But then, like, Tyra loves that because she's like, yeah, that validates me.
I don't know. I think Tyra Banks would be a lot to deal with on a daily basis.
I just need to know.
It's just her pranks are so strange.
Then the last one. I think you have all played OG Nier. Niamh and John have. Are you planning to play Nier Replicant? Furthermore, do you respect a remaster more when it is a strict, faithful recreation of the original with new assets? Or if it's more of an enhanced remaster with quality of life or design changes to rectify dated design?
We had a talk
Depends
about
on the
this a
game.
while ago, Niamh, and I can't remember if it was on the podcast or not. but I think we're both kind of burnt out on like remasters, remakes.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a lot of them.
like I never really feel satisfied when I play a remaster or remake. Like like, well, a remaster I'm nearly kind of okay with if it's just like an up-res or whatever. But with remakes and stuff, I kind of just feel like you're kind of erasing a part of the original game's identity a bit, and like I've really come to appreciate the part of the game's identity that's like disappearing with those remakes. Like I like seeing how stuff handled technology from back then, and I think that's really interesting and a really kind of beautiful window. And like I like the Demon's Souls remake. Okay, I never played the original, but I also feel like, man, I kind of just wish this was a different game, you know, because I could
Blue
go
Point do such a crazy job on those.
They do really good jobs, and I could totally see how people are into them. And it's not like I don't think those should exist, but for me personally, I don't know. I'd rather just play something else. Like, I'd rather play the original or just something totally different.
Yeah, I'm kind of burned out on them as well as a concept. If they do exist, I kind of prefer when they're like Resident Evil 2 remake, where it's like so far removed from the original that it's just a completely different game, except with like the same character names and like ideas. Like it's updated like in every capacity, so it's unrecognizable. But I think more and more where we're making games, like remaking Resident Evil 4 is just so crazy to me because it's still so playable, and it's like Dead Space. Dead Space is so playable in
I played it last year.
In the
it's
state
just
it
fine.
is now, that it just like it feels cynical. It just feels capitalizing
Resident
on IP.
Evil 2 was from an era when like they were still doing crazy shit, like making their entire game on 2D paintings just to get it working. And while like I love those and appreciate it, like, and like I didn't like the remake, but like it's a totally different experience, and so I think you can make a better justification for it. Mm-hmm. I do not know why we're remaking 4, except the fact that it'll sell.
Yeah, it needs to continue existing. When I finished Skyward Sword HD, I appreciated that it fixed a bunch of problems.
Now you've finally beaten Skyward Sword.
And I've beaten the game. It made the game less tedious, so I appreciate that. I do think there is situations where it's worth it, just for the sake of time.
I would like to see less in our future going forward, like less remakes and remasters, but I don't think we're going to get less. I think we're only going to get more.
Like, I like it sometimes when it's like, oh, weird, that obscure PS2 game got a remaster and is out on Switch. That's kind of fun.
It's definitely good for like a preservation perspective.
Yeah.
But even though it's not the same game, at least like it's still existing, and they're trying to get a new audience around it.
Like, I think playing the old Final Fantasies now on the Switch and having the quality of life stuff, like speeding up time. Like,
that
great.
Speeding up shit is like a game changer. Like, that is brilliant.
To the point that I play other RPGs now, like Fantasian, and I'm just like, this is so slow. Oh my god! And I really appreciate the speeding up stuff you can do in Bravely Default 2. So like, there is like quality of life stuff that I think are great. But I don't know. It's kind of a hard. It's a weird one because like sometimes you want to go back and play the original games on original hardware, and now the collecting ecosystem has been, inflated in a really shitty way. That now that I was trying to buy Game Boy Advance games, I was just like, I'm gonna play Final Fantasy VI on Game Boy Advance.
It's a good port of it.
No, I won't. That is so expensive now.
Jesus.
Yeah, it is.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's getting harder to play old games as well. So if this is a way to play them, then, not gonna knock it.
I do like emulation games where the crowd have gone in and they've like done tiny little tweaks.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, because they're selling Game Boy Advance Final Fantasy for crazy prices. Like it's jumped to €100.
Yeah. To
own some of these now. You can get like emulation carts with like soundtrack updates and like sprite updates and stuff.
That's so cool.
That modders do, and it's just like, and they sell for like €15 to €20, and I'm like, well,
it's a better experience. It's just like, I know it's not official, but like, it's more comfortable.
Well, I'm not going to spend like €100.
Square have also like, and like, the Pixel remasters they're doing at the moment, there's like some parts that look like garbage.
Exactly, and that's why I was looking. I was just like, okay, what is the best way to play these games? And I have a lot of them already for the Game Boy Advance SP, and that's like my favorite handheld beyond PSP and like the Switch.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I'll play that, and it's just the games have exploded in price in such a crazy way.
Yeah.
Games.
Patreon. Shoutouts.
We got a lot of new patrons. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much, everyone. What did we say last time?
No, thank you. We're full. Turns out, we got a little bit more room. Squeeze you in, buddy.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to accept 2 more patrons between now and the next episode. After that, no thank you. Not interested. Do you think that sounds good, Brian?
Yeah, I think there's no way to like not get someone to be.
Do you think that sounds good, Niamh? But now these 2 patrons,
The best ones, yeah.
oh my god, I'm gonna be so. These will be like my children. Straight into the nameless they'll go.
So by the time this episode is published, or like on publishing day, if we get 2 new patrons that day, you're gonna personally like take them under your wing. Is that the plan?
Okay.
Is that what you're trying to?
From the moment this episode goes live, I'll be asleep. But the next morning, I'm gonna check and I'm gonna see who are the 2 people, and they will be my apprentices.
But that's not fair on the other nameless, John.
No,
they work so hard to be so pathetic for the nameless. Like what causes that, John?
I think this works. You have to sow competition amongst your faithful.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh dear.
I like to train my followers to compete for my love. I believe it makes them stronger, but most of all, it makes me really happy.
So the kids that join the nameless and then they leave the nameless, they become...
That doesn't happen.
No
one has ever left the nameless.
They become what's known as the lost. You've mentioned this previously.
Oh, when people get banished from the nameless, they become the lost. Yeah, I've heard of that happening, all right. I've never heard of anyone voluntarily leaving the nameless.
And so with our Patreon community, I've told them that if you are part of the lost, you can get lost into my arms. I will keep you company. And
that's really sad, Brian.
It's not really sad,
it's
Brian.
Really sad. Yeah, I think it's a really weird dynamic for you to try and build in the Discord. Just this weird group of followers who like believe in you and nothing else.
They asked me about Fat Boy Friday, and I explained Fat Boy Friday to them, and they all appreciated it.
Okay, well, in the Nameless, we are a group of like-minded individuals who trade business advice.
What business?
None of your business.
Whoa!
Mm-hmm.
We have a thing called Patreon shoutouts. We read out what you said on the internet 2 years ago. And it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I will take this first one from Rabbit House Games.
It's pretty good.
Boss makes $1, I make a dime. That's why I listen to 3 Irish nerds talk about anime titties on company time. Hell yeah.
That's so good.
That's really good.
This is from Corbus. Can't think of anything good, but I've got like... Oh shit, my phone died. But I've got like a year to edit this before they get here, so I'll figure something out.
Corbus, you had like 2 years.
Yeah.
This is from Irisha the Nameful.
What does that mean?
That they have a name.
Why would they point out they have a name?
Because they have...
I'm not alright with that.
Well, no, you're not alright with anything.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to go to the Discord after this. I'm going to ban 3 random people.
Can't do that, John.
I do that all the time.
So mean. These kids are so nice. Okay, and they say Niamh, Bron, and Jonch, the 3 interneters.
Guilty.
It's pretty accurate, to be fair.
Loot. Drop. Niamh.
Mine is a video from Carl Jobst. I spelt that wrong in the docket.
That's okay. Names are hard.
And it's called Exposing Fraud and Deception in the Video Game Market. In the retro video game market. And it is exactly that. It's an hour-long video, investigative journalism video about how this speculative market has exploded in the retro video game scene, who is creating it, who's pushing it, and just a little bit how it works in general, and how this is like mirroring a speculative bubble that existed in the coin collecting market. And a lot of video game collectors are seeing this. They know it's all artificially pumped prices.
It's absolute horseshit.
Yeah, I've seen people say like since the beginning this seems like a fucking scam.
Yeah.
There is a Kotaku article about the newest Nintendo game that is sold for a ridiculous amount of money, and this happens every 6 months, and
it's marketing. They're doing the marketing for them. And this video is just like really interesting. I think if you're interested in collecting games and you've been doing it for a while, you've noticed the market has shifted. How could you not? It's insane.
Yeah.
It's become very clear that something's up, and this is a really good look at who is doing this. I don't really know what people can do about it, except for if you have more information, you know not to buy into this stuff.
Just be vigilant.
It's like, obviously no one who listens to this podcast, but it's crypto bros who are going to get into this. Like,
it's hype beasts.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing.
And I've one extra thing, and it was a mind voice line from Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil 8, where she says the line, "Good girl." And I just thought this was like super neat and interesting, and just something that maybe people would like to play like over and over again.
Is this something? Yeah, no, I understand you. I agree. It's what the people want.
Yeah. Just a little cherry on top.
I think we should just sit with this moment for a little bit.
Yeah.
Why do you like the line, Niamh?
I just thought it was like, like interesting and like cool.
What like visuals does this?
I don't know.
Are you in her lap like a little cat?
Maybe she's very big.
And so, is this satisfying and validating?
Oh, it's something. Yeah. This is a lot of things.
Cool.
I've never felt more alive. Finally, I'm being pandered to.
Don't try and explain it to him, Niamh. He's not a bottom.
I feel like a bottom after losing rock, paper, scissors when I was talking shit about it. Thanks, Mom. You taught me nothing. Broke my fucking heart. Good girl. Bad mom.
Mine is just CM Punk's return. It's just him walking out for 4 minutes and people losing their fucking minds like I've ever seen. One guy was crying his eyes out.
Like, who is CM Punk?
Some wrestler.
He's just some wrestler.
Just some man.
Yeah.
Then I have a YouTuber called Linus Bowman. He's part of the typography YouTube community.
Is this the lad who does, like, here's the history of H?
I think that's someone else, but, like, he'll just point out, like, good stuff and bad stuff.
What's wrong, Niamh?
in
You're still laughing about your good girl line.
No, here's the history of H, and I was just like, from steps. And then I was like, no, take it back.
H. I was thinking like heroin or something, because, this is on Ryanair's airline safety card is a hot mess, and I just...
Cool.
As someone, I guess we've all flown Ryanair at some point. I just think any YouTube video that's like explaining how Ryanair is very bad at being Ryanair is a top choice in my books.
Remember that time they tried to take seats out of planes?
He gets into that bit,
and the dude was just like, "If the plane crashes, seats are gonna save you."
Anyway,
what a dickhead.
So the way the safety card in Ryanair planes works now is that it's like built into the back seat, so you look at it because there's no screen on Ryanair planes, and they're the worst drawings. And some of the drawings are like sequential and they're lettered, and then other drawings are sequential but they're numbered, and like different characters come back but they're like completely different in different panels, but it's the same character because they're wearing the same clothes, but their face is completely changed. It's amazing. It's a good video.
Good podcast.
This is in the above average episodes.
I'd say maybe a little sleepy.
Yeah, a little sleepy. I don't know. I've like the Evangelion stuff. I'm kind of like in a bit of a daze.
Oh yeah, same. It's really hard to talk about stuff sometimes.
How long ago did you watch it, Niamh?
Like a week ago now.
And you're still feeling kind of fuzzy about it?
Yeah. I keep seeing like live action Ray face when I close my eyes.
It's a heavy film.
So that was the bit I saw like when I was like pissed off watching it, and I just went, "Fuck this."
I love it. Like that scene has been so like it's like satired and just redrawn, and it's just in the popular conscious. How do you make it creepy and fucked up?
Yeah, no,
I'm on board now.
They really did like a reverse deep fried meme on it. Like they went no.
Yeah.
You ain't seen shit.
But yeah, a little sleepy, a little like introspective, but maybe that's what you need.
Congratulations.